We're live.
We're live.
Well, when you put your hands up in the air like this, it's like, oh God, I don't know what's wrong.
That's exactly what I thought.
I really don't like you sitting here.
Makes you nervous?
It makes me extremely nervous, and it's kind of like somebody looking over your shoulder in school. And so what you do is you wind up giving all the wrong answers on your page. So you wind up turning that page in, and I turn in something that is, straight A's. Not.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hi. We're going to start the show now. So just thought that you
Eventually
going to start it. So shall we go ahead and do that?
Yes.
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
That's not it.
Oh.
Here we go. Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, it's the In Wheel Time Car Show, and just ahead, we're going to talk about choosing a vehicle to buy and where to buy it from. Mars has our used vehicle of the week, the 2015 Kia Sorento. Later, Conrad has the car clinic, and we'll also have the stories making automotive news headlines. That and more just ahead on this edition, the Christmas edition of the In Wheel Time Car Show. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. I'm Don Armstrong. Jeffrey Zekin has the day off today. He is recovering from a little back surgery, and we wish him well. And we thank you very much for joining us today, because we should be out at Tailpipes and Tacos, but because of the inclement weather forecast, it was canceled. And it's still not raining. It's just cloudy. But we know that that
If we were there, it'd be a downpour.
It'd be a downpour, and word gets out, and people don't want to, get their
Don't want
cars
to take
wet.
their toy cars out in the rain.
No, and I don't blame them. I wouldn't either, even though mine's underneath the cover out there in the driveway right now. But I don't care. At least it's safe and secure and neat. Good morning, gents.
Hi, Donnie.
Now, if you just noticed, there is just a little bit of Christmas decor here. Actually, it's much more than just a little bit.
See, Don should have wore a red shirt, and then we'd have red, white, and green.
Christmas colors.
I can go in and change it if you give me a few
you want
minutes. No, I do not want yours, sir. Thank you.
We've seen that wrinkly thing underneath it. We don't want to see it again.
Oh, that's right. That's not red. That's white. Then we'd have two whites.
So at any rate, Tailpipes and Tacos Christmas edition canceled today. And you'll hear in our commercials that we're going to run for Tailpipes and Tacos that we're going to go quarterly. Not we, Stan, and the Tailpipes and Tacos bunch, but we kind of consider ourselves part of the team there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That they're going to go quarterly. And it's going to be really exciting. Stay tuned to hear the commercial, and it'll explain everything, I think, to you. And we have a Christmas show today, and this is our last live show that we're going to do before the end of the year, because the next two shows are going to be
Christmas.
best of shows.
And we've got some good best of shows. I don't know what have you scheduled. I know what I voted for.
He hasn't even begun to look at
I know
any
what
of
I
that.
voted for, but I don't know if that's what's going to happen.
Well, all I can tell you is I know Mars. I've worked with him long enough to know. He hasn't even begun on that part of it.
Yeah,
yet.
because we watch the setup for the show, and it's always like the last 30 seconds he's doing something. So
That's right.
There's always something else to do.
Kind of a shout out to George Skelton. Thank you very much for lunch last week.
Yeah,
it was
It
spectacular.
was spectacular.
Yeah.
Also, a shout out to John Hovis, who joined us this morning. Merry Christmas, John. And yes, calling us gentlemen is definitely using that term loosely.
Yeah, loosely. Yeah, no, that's sacrilegious is what that is. But at any rate, and Jeffrey Zekin, we know that you're watching, and get well soon.
Howdy, Jeff.
Yep, Jeff had a little back surgery, and
I'm keeping your chair warm for you.
according to Jeffrey and his wife, that he's doing really good.
And Kathy is our set decorator.
Yeah,
she
his wife,
walked
Kathy.
in this morning, and with all the Christmas cheer and lights and
It was kind of what a pleasant surprise, because we really didn't expect any of this, and it's really nice.
Don's got the poinsettia.
It's kind of like saying we didn't
I do.
even think about bringing Christmas decorations.
We're just trying. As a matter of fact, I think maybe this is what I should do. for the rest of the show.
Kilroy was here.
Yeah, we'll call you Wilson.
Wilson, yes.
But
Exactly.
he's such a great character.
So I thought we would do a kind of a different show today because, it's really difficult to get guests.
The last minute.
Well, it wasn't necessarily the last minute, but,
Holidays.
people are taking off and busy doing things and shopping, and it's just really a tough time to get guests on here. And so I thought, well, why don't we just do the show ourselves? And so I thought, okay, well, what are we going to do besides sit here and look pretty? And I thought, well,
That's kind of hard for us to do.
it is. It's extremely difficult. But I thought, well, why don't we talk about cars?
And I think it's something we're all expert at.
Well, I don't know about expert. You are.
Well, and I think we're all expert at it. We have our.
In one way or another, we've got our own little specialty. So I thought, well, what are we going to talk about? Cars. And
But we could talk about birthdays.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Happy birthday, Don, and happy birthday, me.
Yeah, happy birthday to both of y'all.
We're
On the
born
same
on the same
day.
Well, same day, but 27 years apart. You were born before World War II, weren't you?
This is part of the reason that I don't even admit to having a birthday, much less tomorrow. It's not good. That doesn't happen. So there. But anyway, I did, before we get into this, I did want to thank all of our wonderful, astute, fine followers of this program, namely George Skelton and Candace Thackeray and
John Hovis.
John Hovis, our friends.
Ruse.
Steve Ruse. Yeah,
He's also recovering.
I know. Well, we get to this age, and we're recovering from. I'm recovering from some sort of mental disability that I've had most of my life, and I'm going to continue to work on that.
I'm planning on recovering tomorrow.
Oh yeah, tomorrow. That's good. And you've got some brown water in the house to help you do that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So we've got it kind of divided up that we're going to talk about cars. And I guess we could have started anywhere, but I chose for this segment picking a car to buy and a place to buy it. So I guess really it depends on whether you want to go new or used. Now, we're going to have a segment on whether to buy new or used because, as you know, used car prices are sky high, and they continue to climb. Matter of fact, I flew over one of the sorting facilities, if you will. They have names. Odessa is one of them.
Yep.
Where basically cars that you trade in go to a big pool, and then they get bid on, and then
auctioned
they go
out, right?
And then they go to whoever's bought them. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a well-oiled machine that makes that happen.
And that machine, the oiling of that machine, the internet's really helped a ton. I got to get rid of this because I got to look through that to see you. Because now, years past, you wanted to be at the auction so you could touch the car. Now they do a lot of these auctions.
I know, and
online.
we're going to talk about that. That's going to be in one of the other segments. So picking a car to buy and a place to buy it. And my thought process on this was the fact that wherever you buy it, whether it be new or used, you are basically going to go out on a date with the place that you buy it. And sometimes that date works out great, and other times it doesn't work out so great. And you need to know going in what the parameters of your purchase are regards to
kind of what to expect.
What to expect as far as the buying process itself. Do you have financing? Are you going to let them help you with financing? And are you going to actually need to bring the car back because there's something wrong with it that neither you nor the dealer, or maybe the dealer, knows? Mm-hmm. And are they going to honor whatever warranty they have? Some cars have absolutely no warranty whatsoever.
Correct.
This is what you're going to buy.
And then you buy a new car, and it has a bumper-to-bumper warranty for a period of time, and then a powertrain warranty.
And some dealerships actually offer things like oil changes, maintenance, tire rotations, and all of that free with your purchase. Mm-hmm. And then some of the used car operators offer
7, 8, 10-day, you don't like the car, bring it back. And they don't give you your money back, but you can just apply that money towards another car. So all of those things come into range of where do you want to go to buy your car and what kind of car. I'll tell you, the first thing you need to do is probably make a list, because it's not necessarily where you want to go and what you want to get. It's what do you need.
Well, and that's going to be another discussion that we're going to have.
Okay.
But right now, with picking a car to buy and where to buy it. And I guess one of the things that because it's just me, apparently, the millennial generation, my children, that they don't have a problem going to a car vending machine or buying it online.
Purely online and not touching the car or sitting in the car for a road test.
Seeing the car,
before
nothing.
it's delivered. And again, that's
not the school that I grew up in.
Me either.
And I can't imagine spending anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000 on a car that you've never seen, you've never driven, you've never gotten behind the wheel of one. Maybe your neighbor's got one, then you really like it. Okay, so I'm going to go and search for that car. I really do like their car.
That'll annoy the neighbor.
Well, but what are you going to? It's a roll of the dice. Okay, so the car's got 40,000 miles on it, and you're going to pay X amount of dollars for that car. Well, how's that going to work out for you if you don't like it?
Well, yeah, and that again, that goes back to the place you choose to buy it from. What promises do they make that you're going to like it? Because I'll be honest with you, at a new car dealer, there are no promises.
Well, but I also think it goes back to the millennial discussion about expectations for that vehicle. I mean, a lot of these people, they're looking for transportation. Liking it, it's okay. Okay, this is basic transportation. It's got what I want. I'm good. It's not like when I go buy a car, I go find the car I want. I want that car. Not just a car. I want this car.
You're a tire kicker.
Yes, and I want this Mustang, or I want this Camaro. I want this vehicle. It's not a matter of saying, okay, well, I need transportation.
Well, let's use your truck for an example, because you bought it used.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then you knew that you wanted a truck, correct?
Yes.
It wasn't, well, I'll take a four-door sedan. No, you wanted a truck.
Needed a truck.
But you wanted a four-door truck because you needed passenger capacity.
Yes.
To a degree, as well as storage capacity.
Yeah, because I got six grandkids.
Was mileage important to you?
Not particularly, no.
Why?
Because I needed it was on the list, but it was down the list. So the first thing was needed a truck. Second thing was I needed a truck that I can still put 5 or 6 people in, grandkids and all that stuff. And
haul stuff.
And haul stuff.
Safely.
But not like I'm going to be towing 10,000 pounds or anything. So it's got the 5.7 Hemi in it, which I like because I like the power, but I didn't really need that big of an engine, but I didn't want the V6. My previous truck had the 4.3 V8 in it. Smaller, worked fine, didn't have any problems with it. But the Hemi's got a little more juice to it. I like it. But I didn't have to have that. It just happened to come with the truck.
When you bought that, did that have the topper on it?
No.
You added the topper to it because, again, you needed that list of
That's
what
a camper top for those that don't know.
Yeah. Wanted the truck, needed the truck because we wanted to haul our stuff and stuff in. And because of some of the gear, it wouldn't fit with a level bed top camper.
Right.
Well, now that we've moved to some digital stuff, it would, but we've already got that. And I've already got that on the truck. So it works for what we need, for what I need to do for the show. Plus, it works for what I want to do whenever I got to do some work around the house.
Yeah. So when we go on remote broadcast, that we load up all of this stuff, and it's tables and chairs, and I mean it's a lot of stuff.
And, everything.
There's a lot of stuff. So mileage wasn't so much. So when you bought that truck, how many miles did it have on it?
70.
So it was under 100,000 miles.
Yeah, 75.
So with that, you probably at the time saved a little money because it was medium mileage.
Probably saved a lot of money at 70,000 miles.
Well, and even at that, it was white, which is what I wanted, and it was the truck, had all the things that I wanted, and it was a one owner.
And did you know the owner?
No.
You did not?
No.
Did you buy it off a lot?
I bought it off a lot. who told me who the owner was, a school teacher that worked at the school across the highway from the dealership. They had all the service records because she would bring it to them to service it while she's working at school.
And there's value in having all those service records as well.
Absolutely.
You know,
So was it a certified? No, it couldn't have been a certified
No,
pre-owned because it had too many miles on it.
Yeah, it wasn't that, but it was, it was very clean. Obviously, very little wear and tear on it.
Right.
And they said, here, she's, call her. She's across the street at the school.
That's cool. So you clearly had a relationship that you developed with the car dealership over there when you bought the truck.
Yes. Yep. And in fact, there was a couple of things. I asked them about. It's got some steps on it, running boards, I guess is what they call them. That the rubber was discolored on it, and I said, can you replace this? Yeah, but we got to order it. Okay, no problem. So they ordered it, and when I took it back up there, I said, by the way, this one headlight up here, I think is out, and it's not working. Okay, we'll take care of that. I mean, they were very
accommodating.
Accommodating, yeah.
And they should be. In
were
most
very good to
cases,
work
they
with.
should be, But that's also, when Don talked about who are you buying it from and building that relationship, that's very important because, some places it's, no, you bought it, you own it.
Yeah, it's yours.
It had
Goodbye.
it had a 15-foot warranty on it. We're not interested, and they're not going to write you in the business what they call a we owe. We owe you the rubber steps, or we owe you the headlight, because somebody in that store has to do the physical work, and in most cases has to get paid for it.
Right.
So they kind of build a little bit of that into the price of the vehicle as they sell it, that there may be some stuff that has to be done.
So we've been focusing on used cars. Let's talk for a minute about new cars. And it's kind of surprising to me that there are so many people that really don't know what exactly they're out there looking for. Mm-hmm. So there is a process, at least in my mind, of you go through, all right, well, what is it that I need, or what is it that I really want? And
because sometimes needs and wants can be divergent thoughts.
That's right.
But make, as George says, make a list and check it twice, because I think writing it down of your needs and wants is kind of important.
Well, I think that the very first step is doing the research and see what is out there and what specifically you want. You want a four-door sedan? There are many websites. I love Edmunds because it's easy to use, Edmunds.com, because you can search for a particular make, model, year, brand new. You can also search for categories of vehicles, and you can also search not only by the category, but by the price that you want to pay. Mm-hmm. So if you want...
And you can add to that mileage, colors, and really break it down.
Yes, but we're talking about new here, okay?
Okay.
So with that in mind, all I can think of is that you've decided that you want an SUV. You want to spend no more than this amount of money.
And new, that's going to be something north of $40,000.
Well, not necessarily,
unless you want the compact SUVs.
Well, but that's all part of that process of figuring out
what it is.
Want.
Yeah, drilling it down.
First, you want an SUV, okay, but then it gets into how big. You want a Suburban or you want a subcompact. Well, you get into that whole thing.
And setting your price point. You know what you can afford, and I believe it's Kelley Blue Book kind of gives you a payment calculator. If I have a payment of $500 a month, here's at certain rates, here's how much money you could borrow for whatever that term is. And the wildest thing is more so with the new car dealers and the used car dealers, is they've begun to extend those terms. I remember when they went from 48 to 60 months, everybody freaked out.
No, it used to be 36 months.
Yeah, 36.
And now you can get up to 84 months.
I can't
terms on a car.
I know, and I guess that it's just a different mindset. My generation was buy the car, and if you've got to borrow the money, then borrow it at the cheapest rate that you can borrow it. Many times that there are incentives for the dealer to get manufacturer financing, if you will, lack of a better, because they offer incentives for doing it. Sometimes 0% interest rate for X amount of months, and you got the car. So it doesn't cost you any money to finance the car through them. Sometimes your credit union is the way to go. Maybe that's the only place that you have credit.
Right.
There's so many variables when it comes to that sort of stuff.
And it drives that payment. That rate truly does drive that payment. And the dealership, used car or new car dealership, when they finance you, they're making a nickel on it somewhere.
Well,
they're making a quarter
And I don't
point,
have a problem with
quarter
that.
point to
not
half
a problem
point
at
or
all.
a point.
Because if they don't make a little bit of money, they can't stay in business.
Exactly. You look at some of these facilities, and somebody's got to pay for that, and you pay for that in multiple places. So you're paying for that in the price of the car, in the financing, in the accessories, in the insurance.
The service department. I mean, it all kind of comes together to pay for all of that.
So I guess the bottom line is the first thing is choosing a vehicle that you want. And then I think that another important thing to keep in mind, if it's going to be a new vehicle, okay, so the dealership across town is going to save you $500 or $1,000 on the price of the vehicle. But there's also the convenience factor.
And the guy
think
half a mile away.
Right. And so the guy half a mile away probably has a higher overhead, or he wants to make more money for whatever the reason may be, but he's set a parameter for the salesperson to say, okay, we can sell the car at this price. This is the lowest price we can sell the car. If not, we're going to have to let him walk.
And that's actually quite the way it's set up at a lot of stores is, they have we have to make X amount of money per car. And you can come down to that, or you can stay above that, because everybody has to make their payment, their commission out of it,
right?
And like you said, to stay in business. So, and that number kind of moves around from store to store for various reasons.
And a lot of it depends on volume. I know a lot of people that used to, they would come over here to buy cars in Houston from where I'm at, particularly at this Chevrolet dealership right down here, because they could come over here, like you say, and they could save $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever. And so it's really good up front. But
if you need
take it to the warranty, go get service.
Warranty, service.
Can be a real issue.
It could be. And so you need to really, I think, if I were going to offer any suggestions, drill down into the dealership and who you're going to buy the car from. Whether it's new or used, it doesn't really make any difference. I think that it's a handshake, and you are going to be in the same room with them as long as you own the car, for the most part. Because if the bumper falls off, you're going to have to buy a new bumper and have somebody put it up.
Right.
Well, because it does not stop when you drive off the lot. You don't stop that relationship with that dealer because you've got a warranty that's 3 years, at least 3 years on most of them. Some of them are 5. And so if nothing else, you're going to go in there to try and get something fixed that you don't want to pay for. So you still got to have that dealership.
And then some people in their purchase decision are brand specific. I want to have a Ford, I want to have a Chevy, or whatever it might be. So that kind of narrows your choices down. Do some internet research. Who's the good stores? What stores
are questionable.
Be
nice about it.
Talk to your friends and neighbors of what their experience is with various stores, and find out where that happens. You talked about you got to deal with the dealer local if you buy further away. When I worked for Oldsmobile, Charlie Mond, who is an Oldsmobile Cadillac dealer in Austin, Texas, for a long, long time, literally Charlie would walk through his service department about the middle of a Monday morning, 10, 11 o'clock, and he would look at the name tags on the back of all the cars, and if it didn't say Charlie Mond, he would call David Cresta, the service manager, and say, put that car outside. I want my customers serviced first. You're welcome to service that car, but I want my customers serviced first. And you truly can't blame him for that, because that's the relationship. But for him to walk through the store and do that, chewing on his cigar, and you learn not to stand on his left side because he'd spit that. But, they're going to buy it a little cheaper in the country doesn't necessarily pay dividends long term.
Yeah.
And I say a little cheaper in the country because that was Lawrence Marshall's phrase forever. And truly, you could buy a car cheap at Lawrence Marshall.
Well, they've got lower overhead, so he kind of sells it cheaper. But, you and I both have a mutual friend that was a service manager there in Mid-County, and he'll tell you to this day, you come in, you buy a car from them, your car is going to be up front on that service line versus the guy that came over here to the Houston dealers.
To save
he'll still work on them. By all means, he'll work on them and take the money.
But my customers first.
Absolutely.
So in our next segment, we're going to do going with a new or used vehicle And what's it going to be? A car, truck, SUV, a sports car, a specialty vehicle? We'll talk about the next segment. All right, so let's move on. Mr. Mars has a review of our used vehicle of the week. He chose a 2015 Kia Sorento, kind of going with the used thing we've been talking about. So let's hear about it.
And it just so happens that I happen to have one.
You do?
My wife's, yes.
Oh, I didn't know
She
that.
has the 2015. And in fact, it is the very color that we have here on our video.
And the bald guy there.
Yeah, and
Jeffrey Zeke.
and I'm working
we
on
need more
being
Jeff.
that. Yeah, so it's more like this one. And so this car actually comes in 4 different trim levels. And the particular one that we have is the SX because we got the package because it's very much packaged.
Did you buy it new?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's packaged. It's one of these cars you don't go in and say, well, I want this, I want this.
Yeah.
So we had the SX package because I wanted the larger monitor in the dash.
Touchscreen,
Yeah, so that means you had to buy the package with the sunroof that hasn't been opened since we got it.
Right.
Hasn't even had the cover back off of it. So it's got 78,000 miles on it right now, strictly around town. So it's pretty well serviced and everything. We just recently
It's a church car.
Yes.
Church
kids
and
to the
groceries.
school. Yeah,
Yep.
that's it.
Got it.
Kids to the school and all that stuff. So it's been a pretty reliable car. It hasn't had any major issues. But again, we've kept the maintenance up on it. Had to have some brakes work done on it. One of the calipers stuck on it, some things like that. Now, the vehicles are noted for someplace in the 60,000 range. A lot of people are reporting that they've got 60,000 mile range. A lot of people are reporting some transmission problems. We haven't had that issue with it. And then someplace around 80,000, there's some engine problems with it, but there's no recalls or anything like that. There has been a few recalls from this on the factory, but again, you go to the dealership.
There's
and you get
recalls
them all
on
fit.
everything from the factory.
Exactly.
You know.
So, that's kind of not too big of a deal. And now, if you're looking for one of these, there's quite a few of them around. It's pretty popular. We happen to have the 2-row vehicle. Again, that was another thing that we got for this size vehicle. Did not want one crammed in with the 3 rows. So we
I didn't realize they made the Sorento with 3 rows. How full is that?
Yes. And so it was it was kind of hard to find the vehicle that we were looking for, but we did find it. So you can find a 2-row vehicle, but you are going to get one. Primarily, it's going to be 3-row. If you're looking for a 2015 model in today's environment, according to the online documents, you're looking at someplace between 17 and 19,000 miles for one that's got 75 to 85,000 miles on it. So that's about a right price on them, considering a brand new one's about 35. And so if you're
half price.
Yes. But again, now in this market, that $17,000 to $19,000, you may pay 20 plus depending on how the dealership is.
Right.
So it's kind of up there. But I will say from personal experience, it's been a reliable vehicle. We haven't had any issues with it. As long as you, like anything, keep the service up in a timely manner, and it'll go for you.
It still looks like a brand new vehicle. Just saying. Hey, the In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts are available on your favorite podcast channel, and the In Wheel Time Car Show continues right after this quick break. Because of inclement weather, the Tailpipes and Tacos December Cruise-In was canceled. Darn it. The winter returns in the spring. Expect a new and exciting way to enjoy the gathering. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's unique Saturday morning cruise-in, and with a new quarterly format, you'll have more time for car mods and to get ready for cruise-in trophies. Yup, you can compete for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, and more. And the top car will be featured on a full-size poster that'll be used to promote the next event. Bragging rights are guaranteed here. Tailpipes and Tacos wants to thank all participants and visitors who made the event an exclusive, fun gathering of unique cars, trucks, hot rods, and lots of muscle. And we know you'll enjoy it even more in 2022. Tailpipes and Tacos will still be held at the Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, just south of I-10 at Kingsland Boulevard on 99, the Grand Parkway. Stay tuned right here to the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show, and we'll tell you the exact date for the next event. Until next time, be sure to visit the Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, where you'll find the best fajitas this side of California. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching in real time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Real Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, it's the In Wheel Time Car Show. Coming up, Conrad will have the Car Clinic, and we'll have this week's Auto News, along with a special feature that we're doing today throughout our 3-hour program on picking a car to buy and what to look for and how to do it. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us on this Saturday. A week away from Christmas, and it's kind of exciting around here. Thank you, Kathy Zekin, for our wonderful Christmas decorations.
We didn't have enough sense to think of it.
She is the deco doll.
Yes, she is.
Yes, so surprised us with decorations.
Jeff's home watching. He's joined us online.
Yes, Jeff is off today, recovering from a little back surgery, and he's doing quite well from what I understand. So continue on recovering. All right, so our subject matter today, in lieu of guests, is we're talking about buying cars and what to do with them, how to choose them, all of the parameters that we're going to try to fit in. You know, we could probably go on for hours and hours and hours drilling down on this. So I thought that this segment we would talk about going with a new or used vehicle. And I think that a lot of it is driven by the availability today of new vehicles.
Big reason, yeah.
And then in some instances, the price. But I think that there are a lot of people that are looking for the first time at a used vehicle, or just to change their current vehicle for another one that has fewer miles on it, or different kinds of, shall we say, infotainment systems.
Features.
Features on the car. So, what do you do? Do you go with new, or do you go with used? And I think that there's an argument to be met for both of those in the fact that you buy a new one and it's going to have a warranty. Are you going to be able to get as much on a new one as you are on a used one? And it all really depends on what your taste is and what you really want in a car. Do you want it for transportation? Do you actually have to have a new car?
But again, that kind of goes back to you made a list of what you needed and why you wanted it and what you wanted. You got to go back to that list again, because the difference between new and used today is not that great. Used car prices is elevated so much, and when you talk about a used car, tend to have a little bit higher interest rates on used cars, financing. New cars, there's still incentivized interest rates, so you can look at a new car and have payments not far from what you would be from a used car. So all of that, somebody's got to do all that math for you, so you can kind of understand that, because used car prices are sky high right now.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, and it also really depends on your budget too, because there are still
that should be on that list.
$2,000 cars out there if that's what you are looking for, and you can see them every once in a while going down the street with the paper tag with no muffler on them. And, you know,
that same paper tag's been on it for 2.5 years.
Exactly. So we're not really talking about those.
The beater.
The beater car. We're not talking about those. Something that you're going to invest your money into, and I say it's an investment, and it's really not, because you're going to lose.
Invest in something that appreciates in value.
Yeah.
So it's a car depreciates, and a new car depreciates a bunch the day you drive it off the lot.
Correct.
And some people are of the mind that I don't want to pay that depreciation. I want somebody else to pay that depreciation, so they always buy used. And then there's other people that always buy new, again, going back to your list of what's important, a lot of people put a lot of value on having that warranty, that bumper-to-bumper warranty that's going to fix the squeak and rattle that you're probably not going to get fixed in a used car.
The peace of mind of knowing that it'll get taken care of and that all you got to do is go in there. You don't have to worry about it too much.
And the relationship you may have, hopefully have, with whomever you're buying it from, whether it's a new car or a used car operator. You know, Ainsley has bought, now he said he's bought 4 cars.
From the Emmons brothers.
From the Emmons brothers. So he's built a good relationship with people that he trusts.
And happy
that treat
birthday
him
to
right.
the Emmons brothers, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
The triplets
yeah,
had their
triplets.
birthday about a week ago.
Was that a week ago?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was quite that long. But either way, that's kind of a unique setup that they've got down there at Emmons.
Well, the nice. Let me just say this about it. First of all, you're going to buy it from a family that has integrity, and they've got
Been around forever.
They've been around. Yeah.
Yeah, second generation.
Yeah. Exactly. And so they have a reputation, and they sell wholesome vehicles, used vehicles down there. And you know, one of the things that we didn't talk about in our last segment is the fact that today, for the most part, when you buy a used vehicle, they have gone through some sort of a rehab, if you will. So whoever traded it in, if the tires are not good on it, the tires get changed, the brakes get looked at. I mean, all of the things that are important to your car and ultimately important to you, they've gone over and they've had an inspection done to them and repairs made.
And somewhere there should be an inspection report that, hey, you know, an honest operator is going to show you that inspection report.
And the other thing in that regard is also, has the car been wrecked? And that's where you really, I think, should start if you're going to do a used car.
Right. And Carfax is the one everybody talks about.
Right.
That it gives you a view of.
They're not the only one, by the way.
No.
But that gives you a view of what the insurance company has paid on the car, but it's not necessarily the car has not been wrecked, because some cars may have had some damage that weren't reported to insurance.
Right.
And, you know, those cars, you know, it takes a skilled eye to look the car over, to look for, things that don't get fixed perfectly as it would be on a new car.
You know, Michael Wooding has a company that actually does
Pre-purchase inspections.
Yeah, pre-purchase inspections. And I know that if I was going to buy a used vehicle, now mine, I knew the person that I was buying it from.
Right.
The Corvette.
The Corvette. And I knew the history of it, and there was no secret. And it had never been wrecked. I mean, as a matter of fact, I looked under it last time I had it up in the air, and the car looks brand new. Of course, it still only has 27,000 miles on it. But whatever the case, I'm just saying that I think that it's important, if you're going to spend $40,000 on a used vehicle,
Spend $400, get a pre-purchase inspection.
that's what I would do. If you're not familiar with the car and what to look for, because there could be damage there that, who knows, it might have just gone through some high water and gotten water in the interior, just enough to wet the carpets. Well, it's not just necessarily wetting the carpets that you need to worry about.
It's all the electronics that they now tuck underneath the carpet, that's underneath the front seat, that's inside the console. Most operators do that kind of an inspection on the used cars as they're coming and going. They're guys that do their inspections, do a good job of that. And some of the auction houses as well do some inspections of vehicles, because an auction house will not sell an undisclosed branded title. They may sell branded titles. Most of them
What do you
don't.
mean by a branded title?
Salvage title.
Oh, yes.
Stolen vehicle recovery title. All of those things get kind of branded on the title. Some auctions don't sell those vehicles. Others kind of specialize in them. And most quality used car operators don't deal with that as well. So you got to know who you're dealing with by, where you're going to get new or used. So new cars, you can't assume a new car hasn't had some repairs done to it as well.
That's very true.
Yeah, that's right. Because if you look at the transports and stuff, particularly the rail cars,
The transportation damage.
they're starting to put things on them to try and protect them because they get damaged coming to the dealer.
Or Don sitting there buffing the hood.
Yeah, and
on a
buff
white
the paint
car,
all the way off of it.
buff the rough it right down to
the
the.
paint off of it. So, and that happens, and the new car dealer is going to make a repair to the vehicle. Well, that doesn't get reported to Carfax.
No.
That's just an internal claim, an internal charge where they've fixed a dent, they've gone with paintless dent repair, they've gone, and done a little paint work to it, or they've replaced a mirror on it because one of the porters got too close to something and ticked a mirror off of it.
One me.
This time.
This time. Yeah.
So, all of those things should be disclosed. Now, in the state of Texas, used to be the dealer had to disclose, I want to say it was $300 worth of damage. And $300 worth of damage is nothing today.
Right.
You scratch a bumper cover, it's going to cost you $300 to fix. So.
Right. Well, the other thing is that do you know what kind of car that you're looking for? Because a lot of people are, let's say, chunking their four-door sedan for an SUV because it's the popular thing to do. Okay, so
heck, manufacturers are dropping four-door sedans just because that's all they're selling.
Ford doesn't make a four-door sedan anymore. Right. Ford, of all the people, Ford doesn't make it. And there are a lot of manufacturers that don't make sedans anymore, and especially two-door coupes.
Right.
So, is it going to be a car, truck, SUV, sports, or specialty? What kind of car do you want? What kind of car do you need?
Back to your list.
Back to the list again. And if that's the case,
who sells what you want, which narrows your choices down as well.
Right. And we're going to get into this later. What kind of accessories are you looking for today? We're going to get into that later. But as far as cars, trucks, SUVs, sports, or specialty, all of those actually are categories of cars that have dozens of vehicles, choices. Yeah. Like, for instance, take a truck. Everybody thinks of a half-ton pickup truck. No, it's not that simple. Are you going to tow something? Do you need a three-quarter-ton truck? Do you need a diesel engine? We're going to get into that, too.
Do you need a mid-sized truck? I don't know that there's any compacts.
Not yet, but the compacts are coming.
The Maverick, Ford Maverick.
Okay, is that on the ground yet?
Yeah.
How about the Ranger? The Ranger is a mid-size. Mm-hmm. The Maverick is supposed to be a compact, but have you seen the size
really
of the Maverick?
It's smaller.
It's not much.
And the Ranger is a solid mid-size.
Solid, yeah.
Do you want EV? Ford is talking about their F-150.
The Lightning.
Lightning is about to go into production. General Motors has started delivering Hummers.
And
the pure EVs.
And they've actually just announced this week that delivery dates on the new GMC half-ton electrics are going to be year after next. So they're right behind. Yeah. They're right behind Ford because Fords are next year, the Lightning, and so that's a whole nother discussion about electrics.
But it goes back to that list.
That's right.
What do you need? Why do you need it?
What are you going to use it for?
Because, again, needs and wants can be different.
Yep, that's exactly right. So let's just say, for instance, that we want an SUV. All right?
How many people are you hauling?
And how much money do you want to spend first?
Oh, gosh.
Right. Because there are SUVs out there that were made and designed to be two-row SUVs that held 5 people. Well, the manufacturer is going, well, we can offer a 3-row. There won't be any storage in the back.
And the person in the back can't have legs.
Can't have legs.
Because there's no leg room at all.
But it's great for the kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We can throw the kids in the back. We can put grandma and grandpa in the middle row, and then, God forbid, that'd be a summer vacation trip. But whatever the case may be. But those
it better be to a swimming hole because you're not going to have room for anything else but a couple of bathing suits and towels in the back.
But
pretty much.
The manufacturers they're looking at who's buying those kind of vehicles. You're talking about the young family, you got a couple of kids. Occasionally, they might need that third row, like you say, put somebody in the middle, maybe some extra kids. But that's not the daily driver. The daily driver's them and the kids.
Well,
that's it.
When Austin was in high school and we were hauling him and his crew around for water polo, we had a third-row Suburban. That's what Angie drove. And
so did everybody else.
And we were hauling.
That was always available.
We were hauling everybody everywhere. But then you got to talk about price range, used and new. You can get a used a fairly nice SUV used compact in the low 20s.
Yes.
But you can also spend over $100,000 on an Escalade. You know, so that range.
Or the GMC that I had last week, the GMC Denali.
Oh yeah.
Was $88,000, and it was massive, huge. I felt like I was driving a school bus, and that's what I had 2 Suburbans that I bought brand new back in the day when we had the kids growing up, and we thought that it was big then. Oh my God, they've gotten even bigger now.
Yeah. And then again, it goes back to what do you need and what do you want? And how much do you want to spend? And understanding the range.
You got those, your Suburbans, you got because, like you say, because of the kids.
You were hauling the girls.
Well, but and you were hauling your kids.
The water polo team.
Yeah, but then again, a lot of people buy them because of the towing capacity on them, particularly the 3/4 ton Suburbans.
On the Suburbans.
Because they can tow them.
Right.
You know, put the kids
Do
in
they
the back.
even make a 3/4 ton Suburban anymore?
No, not anymore. They did up until 11. They haven't made a 3/4 ton Suburban
because nobody they don't need it because now the towing capacity is
because
up
the 4-door trucks.
Right.
I think the 4-door trucks have fit that need for 5 people.
For those where they want to tow.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the engine choices have changed, and we're going to talk about engine choices in a little while. But back to this. So car, truck, SUV, sports car, or specialty, you really hopefully know what you want.
Well, sports car and specialty, kind of you got to set those aside because those people know exactly what they want, and that's maybe where a little more branding is important because you have that person that has to have a Mustang.
Well,
or the specialty, I have to have a convertible, and your choices are real limited.
Then we drill it down to, okay, so I want a full-size SUV. Do I want a Hummer? An
For
electric
$110,000?
electric Hummer, or do I want an Escalade with a gasoline motor in it that does the same thing for the same price? So there's that. Let's throw that into the mix now because the EV thing is coming on whether we like it or not. And I've got a story.
It's here.
Well, it is here. But the infrastructure to support all of this is not. A guy that I work with just bought a new Tesla 4-door sedan. Boy, is it nice.
Oh, isn't it? Yeah.
It's really nice. I don't know. I haven't really talked to him about it because I haven't had time this week, but I'm going to. And
You get a Model 3?
I guess. Yeah. And he loves it. And he's learning how to change the horn sound that he can download because he wants it to go, hey, get out of the way.
Well, George Skelton had said earlier that the new car smell in a Tesla is a little musky. Thanks, George.
But we need that sound effect, Don.
We love you, George.
Add that.
Hey, get out of the way. Isn't that cool? You can do that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the guy comes beating on your windshield going, don't be yelling.
Or
you
puts
talking
bullet
to
holes
me?
in
Huh?
it.
You talking to me?
Yeah. Well, clearly, there was another one, but I can't say the word, but it had to do with some raggedy girls. Hey, get out of the way. And I'm thinking, so is your wife compliant with that? He said, well, I actually kind of was going to program it in there so I could use it when I was pulling into the garage just to mess with her.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So there's
You'd be sleeping in the garage, too.
Program it. The first time she uses it, let her find out then.
yeah. So at any rate, so we got it drilled down to the SUV. So is it a 2-row? Is it a 3-row? How much money do you want to spend? One of the things that I guess we can probably talk in more detail a little bit later on, but the differences in the options that you can get
Oh, my
on it.
gosh.
Because now we're talking about different size touch screens. Do you want the little one that does the same thing as the big one, but it's smaller? Or it doesn't offer as many features
right.
in the infotainment system.
Right.
For instance, the Gladiator that I have today that I'm driving out there and I'll review in another week, it does not have navigation. I hit the button that said navigation. It doesn't know what I'm talking about because it has no navigation on it.
So you're supposed to use your phone?
I guess you can do that,
Well, if it's got an Apple Play.
or Android, yeah. But those are the things that you're going to have to drill down.
Well, and then, it goes back to what Mike talked about in the Sorrento is those features and options tend to be packaged together.
And some manufacturers.
In the imports more so than the domestics. And
Yes.
the domestics, you can option choice,
A
whatever
little
you
bit,
want.
yeah.
And usually when it's like that, you have a whole range of trim levels. Like there's one that I did last week, I think it was.
S,
that has-
SE,
that-
SX,
Yes, that has 6
SEX.
trim levels, and that doesn't really get into the upper end stuff until the middle trim level on up.
Right.
So you can buy a
some
stripper,
things,
if you will.
And some things aren't offered on the lower trim level vehicles at all. So you have to step up, and that's where you get the
And I think
sunroof that
there
you
was
don't
one
want.
of them. There's one manufacturer I know for sure. The entry level trim levels, you put your phone on it. There's where you're going to get your navigation. But the upper trim levels, it's built in.
Right.
So it's that entry level to where you want to that price market that you're looking for.
Well, my 20-year-old Corvette does not have Bluetooth. It doesn't have satellite radio. It doesn't have navigation. It still has a key that you put into the dashboard to start it, okay? It's old school. So I thought, I really want to have navigation. I really want to have satellite radio. Bluetooth is the way to go.
Right.
So I bought a $20 little thing that goes into the cigarette lighter, and that I plug in my phone that obviously has a little charger port on there, a USB thing that charges my phone. But it also has a tuner in it that picks an FM channel on my radio in the car.
That's a non-used local FM channel.
And it tells me on there what the channel is, so I tune the radio to it. Now I've got all the features from my phone into the stereo system in the Corvette. So I got my navigation on my telephone, and it sits over here in my WeatherTech cup phone holder.
Yeah.
Because Corvette cup holders are horrible.
Yes.
Oh, so they're that deep.
they're cup
Yeah.
spillers.
That's what they are.
Yeah.
It's that deep, seriously.
My 06 Ram truck was that way. It was so shallow. It just turn the corner and there it goes.
So now I've got navigation that goes through my
Sound
stereo system, just like it does in your car with your big, expensive infotainment system. And I've got satellite radio in there. And all I do is just change the channel on my phone. I'm good to go. Isn't that great?
Yeah. And even
$20.
in my 2015 truck, it doesn't have Bluetooth. I mean, it's got the USB for the Bluetooth. It's got the but it doesn't have the radio set up. So I have to go through my phone to get my satellite radio to play through the truck, just like you do. And I've got a 2015.
And it works just fine.
Yeah.
It works just fine. So, because I was going to change the screen, make a touch screen on the dash. Well, there doesn't seem to be one for a C5 Corvette.
Play, right.
Yeah, so you have to go in there and cut wires and doing all that. No, I ain't doing none of that stuff. I've been down that road. That's not the way to go. And I thought, okay, well, let me find something that you can just plug into all of those circuits in the back of the radio back there.
Yeah,
they
you
don't make that either. So
you get a little $20 thing that you plug into your cigarette lighter, and your phone becomes your brain.
exactly. And it
But like I say,
works great.
one of the OEMs, that is how they handle their lower and maybe even the 2 lowest trim levels on their cars, because that's make the price point.
We're going to continue our discussion at the other side of the break, and continue this how to handle your new car purchase, that sort of thing. Time now for Conrad's Car Clinic, because I have that written down that you're going to do a car clinic. Did you bring a car clinic today?
Of course I did. So, let's talk a little bit about...
He does his homework now, but ask him what he did in high school when he got sent to the principal's office.
No. Which week?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll talk a little bit about brake vibration. Vibrating brake pedal can be a real dangerous thing because you have to understand what's causing the brakes to vibrate. And it's not really a good idea to ignore that issue.
Vibrate, and what do you mean by that?
The car vibrates or the
Kind of
pedal
a shake.
vibrates or
Okay.
you get this shake or shimmy in the car. Your brakes are a pretty important safety feature on your vehicle, and you want to keep the maintenance up on them and keep them operating properly. You know, I recommend if you've got some kind of a severe vibration in your vehicle, bring it to a shop that you know and trust that can diagnose it for you. Let them go for a ride in the vehicle if you can take them for a ride in the vehicle and show them and say that's what I'm talking about, and they can determine what's going on. Now in some instances that vibration could just be the analog brake system working. You know, it was very common in early pickup trucks. If you were on the brake as you went over railroad tracks, you would hear that stutter and
Right.
you would feel
Oh, yeah.
that vibration.
Yep.
That's normal. That's just the analog brake system. But if you're not slamming on the brake, and there's a vibration in the vehicle, it's got to get looked at. You know, what could it be? It could be your brake pads are getting worn out. Typical brake pads last 40 to 50,000 miles. And, you know, if you're carrying a lot of weight, you can wear them out faster. Brake squeal. When you're driving slow and your foot isn't on the brake and you hear that little that could be a wear indicator on your
Let me hear that again.
That could be a wear indicator on your brakes that's telling you your brake pads are low. Another thing you can look at to see if your brakes are worn is the level of fluid inside your master cylinder. So as the brake pads wear, the fluid level in your master cylinder goes down because the fluid's taking up the distance as the pads wear. So brake fluid should never leak. So as that fluid goes down, that's a fair indicator that your brakes are getting worn. So very easy for anybody to do a brake inspection for you. If you're when you're getting your tires rotated, it takes them about 2-3 seconds. They've got little measurement devices to go in so they can look at your brake pads and make sure that's not the cause of what your vibration is. Another thing is the rotor or the brake disc can cause that vibration when they get warped.
What causes a rotor to get warped?
It could be it was hot and you went through a puddle and that splash did it. The biggest part I see about rotor warpage is people tightening the wheel on it and tightening the wheel on it incorrectly.
Incorrectly and over-tightening.
Over-tightening it. So now all of a sudden you've got this flat disc and you're real tight on one side and not on the other. So now instead of the rotor spinning flat through there, the rotor spins kind of wobbled.
Yep.
And that causes a brake vibration. It causes the pedal to vibrate. That can be relatively inexpensive to repair. Another thing that can cause vibration when you're braking is worn suspension pieces. You know, a loose tie rod end, and it starts to do this when you're driving. Well, that sensation of that vibration is something you really need to get corrected for a couple of reasons. First off, the safety issue. Second off, it's going to eat the tire up as well. And vibrations like that can cause all kinds of other weird stuff in the car, as far as now you start getting these itch noises or these rattle noises. It can cause problems with some of the electrical systems.
Did you say itch noise?
Itch.
An itch noise. I like it.
I wasn't sure what that technical term was for that sound.
I used to, years ago when I was turning wrenches, I used the little baby, the snot suckers out of the baby,
Yeah.
the little bulb.
Yep.
I would put cornstarch in there or
Sure.
baby powder in there. And when I'd put a dash back together, I'd tap inside the dash and put the dash back together because that would keep the noises from coming. If you disassemble the dash.
Ah.
Cheater. He learned that in school.
Cheater.
So, getting your suspension components looked at. Another thing that can cause vibration is the tires. You get cupping on the tires or an alignment problem can also cause vibration. So if you have that kind of a vibration, bring it into a shop that you can trust and let them take a look at it so that it doesn't cost you more money in the short term.
Very nice. Thank you, sir. Okay, time now for another break, and we're going to
do
be
this
back.
one?
Huh?
Are we going to do this one?
I don't know.
It's the one on the list.
Is it what you
We
wanna
need
do?
more Jeff.
We miss you, Jeff. We love you, Jeff. Okay, thank you. We'll be right back here on the In Wheel Time Car Show. Because of inclement weather, the Tailpipes and Tacos December Cruise-In was canceled. Darn it. But when it returns in the spring, expect a new and exciting way to enjoy the gathering. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's unique Saturday morning cruise-in, and with a new quarterly format, you'll have more time for car mods and to get ready for cruise-in trophies. Yup, you can compete for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, and more. And the top car will be featured on a full-size poster that'll be used to promote the next event. Bragging rights are guaranteed here. Tailpipes and Tacos wants to thank all participants and visitors who made the event an exclusive, fun gathering of unique cars, trucks, hot rods, and lots of muscle. And we know you'll enjoy it even more in 2022. Tailpipes and Tacos will still be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, just south of I-10 at Kingsland Boulevard on 99, the Grand Parkway. Stay tuned right here to the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show, and we'll tell you the exact date for the next event. Until next time, be sure to visit the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, where you'll find the best fajitas this side of California. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net. Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, it's the In Wheel Time Car Show. Coming up, we're going to have a discussion about engines. Should an engine be part of the selection process when looking for another car? Yes.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mars has a feature on the RPM Act of 2021, and I promise it is G-rated. We have the upcoming events calendar and today's news headlines. Just ahead on today's In Wheel Time Car Show. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Conrad DeLong. I'm Don Armstrong. Our good friend and compatriot, Jeffrey Zekin, is at home.
But he's online with
judging
us.
The show today.
Yes.
He's judging the show, and clearly you were
Remote
missed.
control.
And so Jeff will be back with us on our next live show.
Like one of your ex-wives,
in a
always
couple of
judging
weeks.
you.
Yes, amen to that. All the time. So I want to know what the hell's happened to the rain. Where is it? It's supposed to be raining right now.
Is it?
It's supposed to be, yes. So I just thought I'd throw that out there because, we were supposed to be at Tailpipes and Tacos today. And
it was canceled because of the forecasted weather.
Of 90% chance of rain beginning at 6 o'clock this morning. That was the forecast yesterday morning at this time. What's happened? Tell me.
We're not having Tailpipes and Tacos, and we're here trying to wing a show.
That's it. As a matter of fact,
I think there are some other shows going to happen a little later today. And we'll talk about those when we do.
No, there's not. Now, today's forecast is 100% chance of showers and thunderstorms before 4 p.m. That's the current forecast. And there is a big wad of rain just to the northwest of us. It's actually up in College Station, moving into College Station right now. But
so it is coming this way.
It's heading this way. The showers will start here in a couple hours, but whatever. We could have done the show.
Bruce said it stalled in Bastrop.
Yeah, it looks like it may actually kind of go around us.
No,
it's going to go right over the top of us.
Yeah, it's just a little delayed, that's all.
I think
it'll be a mess.
He said, saying, it'll be a mess. Yeah, later on today.
Full of it.
Yeah, the weatherman. Gotta love him. All right, so our discussion continues about cars. New, used. If you're in the market, which way do you go? What kind of car do you buy?
Who do you buy from?
Who do you buy from? Where do you buy? The advantages, the disadvantages. We've talked about all that. So I thought that this segment of the show, we would talk about engines in cars. Now,
motors if you're into EVs.
That's right. Well, my dad always used to say a motor is electric, an engine is a gasoline engine. Yep. That's why I said motor. Yeah. But for our purposes here, we're going to talk about specifically new cars. Let's just keep it at that. And new cars, meaning those that are on the lots.
And the choices you have
Oh, my
for
God.
the vehicle, well, and to a degree, some of the narrowed choices you have as well.
Or no choices.
Right. The new Toyota Tundra.
It's got one motor.
It's a turbo V6, twin turbo V6, and that's the only motor available.
Correct.
Actually, a friend of mine just drove one this past week up in College Station, and he said it was a beast.
Yeah. And for gasoline motors, you know, everybody's always had this idea, including me, that a four-cylinder motor belongs in a bug. And that is not the case anymore.
And
I drove a four-cylinder that acted really like a V8 in that Buick Envision that I had.
Okay. Well, turbo.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, a turbo.
Yeah.
And it had 310 horsepower out of a four-cylinder.
Well, you got to
Are you
remember.
kidding?
Chevrolet sells a turbo four-cylinder in a full-size pickup truck.
Yes,
in a
they do.
1500 pickup truck.
Yes.
And then they also sell the V6, and then they sell a gaggle of V8s, including all the way up to the diesels and stuff. So that range of motor kind of or engine kind of goes back to your list.
Yes, the list.
What do you want? What does it need to do for you?
Correct. Do you, if you want fuel mileage, oh my gosh, they have got some four cylinders that'll get almost 50 miles to the gallon. It has no power, and it is, but if you don't really care,
Right.
doesn't make any
Just
difference.
If that fuel economy is one of the most important things for you.
Right. And it's going to limit your choices of vehicles if that's what you're out for, because as you progress down the fuel economy chain, or up the chain, as it were,
Whichever direction you want to go.
that it makes a huge difference in what vehicle you choose. And it's going to narrow the field in that direction.
Oh, yeah. And can be extremely narrow in some instances
Right.
of single choice.
Right.
You know, and then you go to some of these vehicles. I'm going to go to the Ram that have the electric hybrid component
Oh, yeah.
on the truck that kind of gives you a boost at the what do they call that? I can't remember the name of it.
It was like right there.
If I wouldn't have asked, you'd have known it.
I know. I was fixing to tell you what it was.
But that is a wonderful option to get if you are looking for some power off the line. Was that the V6 that it was attached to?
Well, it was the V6, but they also put it on the Hemi, but you can also get it in the Jeeps. It's not
Yes.
just the Ram truck.
Right.
They actually have that on the Jeep as
Right.
well.
Yeah, and it's really cool, just to digress a little bit, because not only does it help you off the line and do that, but where it really does, to me, makes the big difference is in the shift points. So whenever, and it amazes me they can do this, so, and correct me where I'm wrong here, so when the car goes to shift gears, it kind of stops for a momentary. There's no power there because it's shifting from first to second. Well, this electro motor steps in and produces power during that brief time. And
It's as smooth as silk.
it does. I mean, it smooths out the whole shifting thing, which I happen to like the firmer shifts, but it really does do that, and that's part of where it gets the fuel
And
economy
we'll assume
from.
that you're a car person since you're listening or watching this show. And so if you're an aficionado of cars, it's the subtle things, especially when it comes to engines, that make a world of difference.
right.
A world of difference.
Well, you know, let's go back in time to, and I'm going to go way back in time, forgive me.
Don
to
probably
the-
still knows what it is.
Shut up. I knew you were going to say something
The,
about my age. Shut up.
the Cadillac V8 6.4, which was
Oh, my
a
God,
mechanic's heaven because they worked on them all the time.
Right.
But that was kind of one of the early forays into displacement on demand that was horribly executed, but it was the start of it. So, you know, now you've got the...
It was a great idea.
Yeah. But you still have displacement on demand. Hemis do it. LS Motors do it. Everybody does some type of displacement on demand. And how has that improved
But
over
you're going to have
time?
to explain that because we know what that is, but there may be somebody that
So
doesn't.
in the V8s, it turns 4 of the cylinders off, so you get better fuel economy. So if you're driving down the road on the cruise control, you know, your engine's, your vehicle's running on 4 cylinders, so it takes a lot less fuel to propel you down the highway. And it's all these manufacturers trying to get more more and more fuel economy out of their vehicles. So that's where displacement on demand,
Right.
and many manufacturers are using a form of that. But think about the early ones, and what a pile of steaming poo they were. And then how they've advanced them, because I'm going to tell you,
Poo.
the second and third generation of displacement on demand was still a little weird because you could feel it. There was some noises
Yes.
and some vibrations in the vehicles. Today's, you don't
can't-
even
Right,
notice.
but that's part of the process. You know, you got the idea, you got to start someplace, and then you develop it. It's kind of like the stop-start system.
Oh,
you know,
my
the first one I ever got into, it was in a manual gearbox, and I pushed it on the clutch, and the car died. And I thought, what in the world is going on here? But now they've gotten to the point now you don't even hardly notice it.
Well, and you know, that's another thing. If you're going to buy used, and I just have to divert here just a minute. If you're going to buy used, you need to keep in mind that there are some engines out there that you might not really
Want.
You really want, especially if you're an everyday driver and stuck in traffic, and the start-stop feature will drive you insane.
Well, I remember that you had that Audi Q5 with the diesel, and it literally felt like somebody ran into the back of the vehicle when it would restart, because it would just kind of lump.
Shudder to
Oh,
life.
the whole car would shudder. But again, that technology has so advanced that it is somewhat imperceptible today. But if you're buying used, you better understand what you're buying, and that's where, you know, it goes back to, we talked earlier about buying a used car without sitting in the seat. And I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later as well.
It truly is. It's something that you should definitely look for, not only used, but especially in a new vehicle, because there are some, and these are brand new vehicles that I get to test drive and bring the report to you. And if it doesn't work right, I'm going to tell you that it doesn't work right. There are some that I wouldn't give you 2 cents for, that are just absolutely horrible. They shudder to life. The start-stop feature is annoying. There are other start-stop features on some of these cars. You cannot tell that it's even in place. And
And a lot of that depends on how the start-stop feature is engaged. You know, in some of them, the start-stop feature actually has an electric motor that restarts the vehicle. Some of them, it's where they stop the piston and fire the fuel in the spark plug that just restarts it. There are others that actually use a belting system to restart the motor, and all of those create different sensations in the vehicle.
And not only that, there are other ones, and a lot of them, most of them, use the actual starter, the regular starter. And I can only imagine how many
Wear and tear.
Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, if you're in stop-and-go traffic, oh, my gosh, it's starting and stopping 100 times between work and home. And what a pain. And you can feel it start and stop.
There is a benefit to it. There is a measurable fuel economy benefit to it. And earlier ones always had the off switch, but you had to restart it every time you started the car. A lot of the current ones, there's no way to turn the system off.
Correct.
It's just on, and that's just the nature of how the car works. So if you're buying new, understand that. If you're buying used, you need to know how that system works.
And, of course, an electric car has no issues with any of that.
No.
It's either on or off with the electric motor, and that's it.
And how far you can go.
Right. But, so should an engine be part of your shopping list? I say absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. I mean,
in today's environment, regardless, it needs to be a consideration.
Right. And, you know, if you're hanging on and waiting for an electric, good for you. But I think that the gasoline motor is here to stay, at least in our lifetime.
Yeah, I completely agree. But again, back to your list of needs and wants determines what engine you're going to get. You know, if you're very environmentally friendly, you know, you might want the EV. If you're a little more cost conscious, the 4 cylinders tend to be cheaper than the V6s and V8s and get better fuel economy. So all of that weighs into it, but there are trade-offs.
Well, I will tell you that, and as you know, I've always been the weird duck.
Still are.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Now.
Well,
Is that how you spell it?
That's one of the terms that we like to, that we're familiar with, and that we can use on a family-friendly automotive show.
Very good.
There's that. But my first foray into automobiledom would be
Automobiledom. That's a new word, yeah.
I made that up. Was a 235 Blue Flame 6-cylinder. Well, back in my teenage years, there was nothing short of me adding some horsepower. No matter what it was, I would find a way to add some horsepower. So, even though it had a 6-cylinder and a one-barrel carburetor, I managed to find a setup that Offenhauser made, former manufacturer. I don't think that they exist anymore, maybe by name, but Offenhauser made an aluminum intake manifold for the 235 Blue Flame 6 that allowed you to put 2 carburetors on it. So I managed to put 2 Rochester 1-barrels on what was a 1-carbureted 1-barrel. And it certainly did add to the horsepower. But I'm just saying that there's always power adders that you can get on these engines. However, one of the things that I think is needed to be said is the fact that if you're going to think about adding something or taking away something or changing something on your new car, chances are it's going to void the warranty. So you might want to think twice about that.
And the complexity of doing those things today.
Yeah.
You know, back then you're talking about slapping a intake manifold and another set of carburetors on an engine.
Just the
Not
timing.
very difficult. I mean, to view it from a mechanic's point of view, not very difficult
Correct.
to do. Today's cars, extremely difficult to do, where most of the power adders are all done in the software.
Yeah.
Or forcing air, putting some type of nitrous on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Superchargers, blowers, that sort of thing.
So the Hot Rod Tour of Texas have joined us, Bobby Sparkman and stuff. So
Welcome to the show. We're having a different kind of show today because it's going into Christmas, and Mr. Mars didn't want to try to get guests. He wanted to skirt. He wanted to skirt his usual responsibilities and say, "I'm not going to get any guests. You come up with something."
Well,
he did not say that, but I jacked with him a little bit.
Heitzman asked, do you think that the gasoline engine will fade out after 2050?
No,
Honestly, I don't care, because by the time 2050 is here, I'm going to be eaten by the ants and worms.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. I think that there is a place, and probably will be in all of our lifetimes, even the 5-year-old that's watching the show, God forbid, that there will always be a need for a gasoline engine.
Well, and just the inventory of existing gas engines aren't going to go away over that period of time. You know, look, your car is 20 years old, my car is 50 years old. So those cars are always going to be around. But on the new car side of things, with government regulations and stuff, maybe it will all go EV by that point.
It won't be not in our lifetime. So I think that for now, anyway, and I know that all of the manufacturers have an EV plan. Many of them already have EVs that you probably don't even know of. Kia has an EV. All of them have EVs,
And some of them, and a lot of them are selling an EV.
right? And that's fine. But I think that for the most part, as far as economy is concerned, and we talked to the guy a couple of weeks ago. That is there a reason that we have Conrad on and not all of us?
Yeah, because I woke David up and I'm working on the camera.
I see. Well,
We'll switch it to Don.
no,
since
I don't
Don's
know.
talking.
But okay, fine.
Because he's messing with the group.
That we talked to the guy that an EV is actually, if you drill it all down, it's probably more expensive than a gasoline engine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Once you factor in the price of the EV and then the charging of the EV.
And the long-term maintenance, because at some point in its life, battery replacement.
Right. So it's still a feature
But-
that you'll have to pay for, and it's not. I won't have to pay for gas anymore. No, you're going to have to pay for electricity.
But
it's not cheap, by the way.
Elon Musk has proven with Tesla that an EV platform is profitable, saleable, and desirable in the market.
It's made him the richest man.
Yep.
What you need to come and sit down and put a headset on if you're going to argue anything. So you just go over there and get the vacuum cleaner out.
Does he get government subsidies? Yes. Do the people who buy them get government subsidies? Yes. Will people buy them if that $3,500 subsidy goes away? Absolutely. Because he has built a brand of Tesla, and the vehicles are actually quite nice.
They're very nice.
And has proven that it's a viable platform.
Let me ask everybody, have you ridden, seen, looked into,
or driven?
Had anything to do with a Tesla? Not necessarily owning one, because if you own one, that's kind of given thought. But at any rate, I think that you would probably behoove yourself to stop into a Tesla store if you're in the market for an EV and see what the Tesla is all about, what the hype is all about, why people are buying them at the rate that they're buying them.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is well thought out.
By the 500,000 a year rate.
Yeah. And they're basically made, engineered by millennials. And they have done a phenomenal job with this. Kind of like all of these spaceships that they're sending off now. Mm-hmm. I mean, who would have thought that you could send them all automated? That Blue Origin thing, there's nobody at the controls of that. They're sitting in a little pod that looks like a penis.
Can you say that? Oh, I think he just did.
Well, I'm serious. What? What were you going to say, Morris? Because I'm sure you had something to chime in on.
Yeah, I'm going to write that down for my notes for the podcast.
Are you going to edit that out?
No, I was going to make a note so I could put it in the description.
I see. And use it to torture me in years to come.
Yes.
But it is that level of technology that they're bringing into the EV world, especially and the automotive world, when you look at some of these automated cruise control systems that are out there.
Absolutely.
Very complex system of cameras and radars and all of that
LiDAR
stuff.
and all that.
That kind of automation is, to me, scary.
Well, it is, because right now the infrastructure is not here to support it. That's the bottom line. Don't buy something that it's not supported, because I can speak from experience. I had a Cadillac that had the Super Cruise on it. And it worked great as long as it could see lines on the road. But once there would go through a construction zone, which was all the time here in Houston, a construction zone, it didn't know what to do.
Right.
And had I not been behind the wheel and paying attention, it would have ran me off the road.
Well, you're supposed to be paying attention.
Well, I know
it's
that.
not for you to go to sleep.
I know that, but then you hear these stories about
people going to sleep, reading a book.
Or sitting in another seat, bypassing the system's safety interlocks. I mean, that's so stupid. But at any rate, so back to engines briefly,
Or motors.
Or motors, but engines in our case today. I think that it is extremely important when you select something, see what kind of engine it has in it, what kind of gas mileage it gets, so you know what you're buying going in. Mm-hmm. It gets good gas mileage, it gets terrible gas mileage, or something in between. So you don't, I'm surprised, well, I didn't know that it didn't have any power. I can't get on the freeway like I used to.
Yeah. Well, you already own it, so suck it up, Buttercup. You made a bad choice.
And in some of the online forums and stuff, I've seen people actually say that. I bought this with a V6. I bought a truck, a half-ton truck with a V6, but it doesn't have any power. Well, dude, didn't you drive it?
Well, in some instances, no.
Well, apparently,
in many instances, with these online companies that are selling online,
that deliver to your front door,
you have no choice of. You have no choice. Right. What are you going to do?
Well, I don't even consider that an option. I'm not buying a car. I take that back. I saw a '62 Corvette that I couldn't afford.
That doesn't count.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't count. That's a specialty car, and no, that's not part of the discussion today.
Jeff sent me what time to make note here about
my comments.
Yeah, the mention. Make sure I note what time that is. And
Jeff's still running the clock on us.
So people
Thanks,
can find
Jeffrey.
it.
I know that that was a bad choice of words, and I should have never used a bodily part to whatever. all of you guys. Events calendar. There are things coming up, but maybe not today, tomorrow.
Well, actually today, Crew
it's going to rain.
Well, Crew on Deck is going to be at Kim's Tea House for their Toy Drive number 5, and that's at 1523 South Mason. Models, raffles, anime. Remember we had Eric Allen on as Deadpool. He's going to be there. They're going to have I think it's an alcohol injected car there. They're going to fire it up, hopefully, and rattle the building. Tomorrow is a classic car show with trophies at the Valley Ranch Town Center in New Caney, Texas. Also tomorrow, there's going to be a car show up in Round Rock, Texas, and that's going to be at the Centennial Plaza and at Baghdad Avenue in Round Rock. I didn't realize there was a Baghdad Avenue. Also tomorrow,
I Dream of Jeannie's going to be there.
That's right. Also tomorrow from 11 to 2 p.m. is Coffee and Cars at Century Square in College Station. The Nawada Garage grand opening.
Do you ever read this before you print it out?
I read all of them before I print them out. I just can't pronounce them. And that's going to be at Village Green Drive in Jersey Village, and then from 1:45 to 4 p.m.
And he put his glasses on.
You want me to read that for you?
1:45. Well, yeah. It's,
okay, so
Northgate,
do we need to,
Northgate Toy Drive.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Time now for a special that Mr. Mars has. He's been doing banned race cars. Today, it's the RPM Act of 2021. Is it something that's G-rated? Because it's an act.
Well, we're going to make it G-rated. In fact, we're going to, because everybody needs to know about this, at least all of the people that are our listeners.
Car enthusiasts.
Car enthusiasts. If you recall here a while back, we talked to Andy Lilienthal, Crankshaft guys out there in Oregon, about what was going on up in the Northeast, Maine in particularly, where some of these JDM vehicles that have come into the country, people were driving, licensed, registered, and everything, and the state had come back and said, nah, you can't drive this.
You've already paid all your money to put it on the road.
Yeah.
Now we're going to take.
So
they're
pulling
away.
the plates off of them and stuff. So back and that's kind of what got me to thinking about this. But back in 2015, the EPA took the position that all the vehicles that you have in this country have to remain emissions compliant. Now, that's fine. That's all your smog controls. I mean, that started back in 1970s and 80s. But the fact remains is that means that you can't modify that vehicle. You can't change the carburetor. You can't change the exhaust system. And literally, you can't even get to changing the tires and wheels if you get down to it because you can't. So what the RPM Act of 2021 is actually a bill to change that so that if you have a car that you've bought, let's say you've bought a 70 model Boss Mustang and you want to put it on the track, or a 69 Camaro like the Emmons boys run down there and you want to put it in, you want to make a stocker race car out of it and make a full-blown race car out of it. Well, according to the EPA, you can't do that. That's illegal. Even though you're not driving it on the street.
Because of the modifications.
Because of the modifications. So this bill is going into place to make that. I mean, there's still a fight over whether it's street legal or versus that. But if it's a full-blown race car, this bill is being put into place to make that allowable. Because not only does it say you can't build that car, it's telling the aftermarket industry you can't sell those parts to make that car. So you're talking about SEMA, billions of dollars a year in this market that the EPA said, can't do this anymore.
So we're going to let the government get involved again to screw it up even more.
Well, it's already,
everywhere they get involved.
It's already quietly got involved. And SEMA's pushing this, and a lot of other ones
trying to make this happen.
Trying to make this happen to kind of get the government out a little bit. So if you hear anybody talking about the RPM Act of 2021, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to try and get the EPA.
So call your
back off.
congressman and senator and ask them to support the RPM Act.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, you can actually go to SEMA, and they've got a link on there that you can click on and put your address and stuff, and it'll pop a note out to your representatives to support this
So now
act.
everybody's got your damn telephone number and email address, so you can be bothered by that every day.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're quite welcome, sir.
The In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts are available from your favorite podcast provider. The In Wheel Time Car Show continues after this quick break. Because of inclement weather, the Tailpipes and Tacos December Cruise-In was canceled. Darn it. But when it returns in the spring, expect a new and exciting way to enjoy the gathering. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's unique Saturday morning cruise-in, and with a new quarterly format, you'll have more time for car mods and to get ready for cruise-in trophies. Yup, you can compete for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, and more. And the top car will be featured on a full-size poster that'll be used to promote the next event. Bragging rights are guaranteed here. Tailpipes and Tacos wants to thank all participants and visitors who made the event an exclusive, fun gathering of unique cars, trucks, hot rods, and lots of muscle. And we know you'll enjoy it even more in 2022. Tailpipes and Tacos will still be held at the Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, just south of I-10 at Kingsland Boulevard on 99, the Grand Parkway. Stay tuned right here to the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show, and we'll tell you the exact date for the next event. Until next time, be sure to visit the Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, where you'll find the best fajitas this side of California. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. It's the In Wheel Time Car Show, your weekly go-to all things automotive place. Just ahead, we talk about transmission selection when you're buying a new or used vehicle. You're going to go manual or automatic? The number of speeds, or should it be a CVT? We'll also have the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Howdy. Along with Mike out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong. Jeffrey Zekin recovering from his little back surgery procedure, and we miss you, Jeffrey. Please come back.
There's too much stuff going on over here in this corner.
Yeah, clearly, and I don't have my act together, so that's not unusual.
I posted a link to the RPM Act to save our race cars on our Facebook page. So,
good. Thank you.
SEMA's on our side.
By the way, just to make it clear to everyone so you know how the show kind of works mechanically. So Conrad does all of the Facebook stuff. So when you see stuff from us on Facebook, that's him.
Blame me.
It's him. And we love it. And don't stop, because I love
It's fun.
It is fun, and I always learn something. Because
I'm always learning something.
Because I get the feed just like everybody else does, and it's cool. Especially some of those cars that you post. Oh, my God. Every once in a while I'll throw something on there, but it's not very often.
Well, it's all appreciated.
Yeah.
And we love hearing people talk back with us and sharing pictures of their cars as well.
Right. So Conrad takes care of basically the social media stuff. Mr. Mars really kind of gets the guests lined up, and he does all of the mechanics of the show as far as editing video, editing audio, podcasts, everything that you can normally think of that is involved with the show. I don't know what I do.
I get a lot of help from David Ainsley, so let's not leave him out of this mix.
Let's certainly not leave David Ainsley
And then during the show, Jeff does all of the video switching and then his components of the show as well.
Yeah,
so, Jeff's just as important.
So it's a gang effort here. So
really
just,
is.
We don't have a separate producer. We kind of produce it as we go along. So just so you'll know.
And it shows.
Yeah, it definitely shows.
And then we have our Hall of Fame, broadcasting Hall of Fame talent in Don Armstrong.
Well, I thank you very much for that, but that's not necessarily. It's kind of like going to the principal's office all the time.
All the time.
All
I
the
did.
time. I know you did.
Yeah.
Were you ashamed or at all any time? Maybe once or twice?
No, you have to have a conscience before it can feel guilty.
All right, so today we're talking about purchasing a new car or a used car for that matter, and the different components that we think that are very important for you to make an educated decision on spending $20,000 to $100,000 on a car, especially a new car.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend that on a used car too, especially if you're going to get like something like a '63 split window Corvette.
Or some of the exotics.
Yes.
You'll spend
Well,
that
I
much
would
on
consider that an exotic today.
Well, very much so. Very much so.
So anyway, I thought that this segment we would talk about transmissions.
Well, we talked about engines last one. We might as well talk about trannies this one.
And the interesting part about it used to be, it was a manual 3-speed shifted on the column or on the floor, or it was a 2-speed automatic slush-o-matic, as we used to call it.
Or the hot rod was the 4 on the floor.
4 on the floor, which was all the hot ticket, and that's what you had to have. I kind of got that in the Corvette, but it's a 6-speed with 2 overdrives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, so what do you choose? A manual, if you can find them.
Are very hard to find today.
Yes, they are.
Think about the new Corvette, the C8. I don't even think offers a manual.
No,
It just has a
there's no manual transmission.
dual clutch
offered.
transmission.
But I have to tell you that, and I have driven some of these dual clutch paddle shifted cars, and those that are performance cars, that shift happens so much faster than I could ever shift it.
Oh, man, you talk about shift
and
happening.
I think
it's
that
precise.
And I think that I kind of perfected, in my own mind anyway, how to speed shift a manual transmission. I've been practicing for a very long time, and I've gotten pretty good at it. I don't really usually brag about myself, but I can speed shift a car pretty good. But it ain't near that good.
Right.
Oh, no.
And so, as a matter of fact, at my age now, when I get out of the Corvette after a day's drive, my left knee hurts.
Working the clutch.
Working the clutch. And I never thought that it would be
traffic. Oh, man.
Yeah, but I usually don't get stuck in traffic. But at any rate,
You got to look for a manual transmission today.
Yes, you do.
They're really not out there in
talk
any
about
volume.
a theft deterrent.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, buddy. Matter of fact, I think was it you that somebody posted a deal on Facebook that it said it was a still photograph of a valet, and it says no manual transmissions allowed.
Yep.
But at any rate, so let's talk about automatics and the difference in a standard automatic transmission today. Now they're up to 10 speeds of automatic transmission. Now, you may think that, oh, well, that's got to work really well. Not necessarily. And in my opinion, if you have a lower horsepowered car, it's almost self-defeating if you want to have a nice, smooth transmission that goes through the gears, because there are certain speeds that you go down the highway in, and especially, let's say 65, 75 miles an hour.
Cruise control set,
that it will jump down 1 or 2 gears when you're going over an overpass, and it drives me insane. Now, with a big V8 engine, it's got the power behind it,
torque behind
and
it.
generally speaking, it doesn't downshift.
It may go down
much.
1 gear, but it's not going to go down 3, and then all of a sudden you go from 1,700 RPM to 4,000 RPM just because the vehicle wants to maintain speed.
It is absolutely annoying, to say the least. That's the best word that I can use for it. So there are advantages and there are disadvantages with all automatic transmissions. To me, I think that a good general overall automatic transmission is a 6-speed automatic transmission.
Which is very popular out there, but 6 speeds are kind of going away.
They are.
They're moving. GM has moved to the 8. Mercedes has moved to the 8 and 9s.
Stellantis is sitting up at 8. Mm-hmm. And I happen to like the 8s real well. But that's behind the 5.7 Hemi.
Right. It's
bigger.
got torque.
Right.
Yes.
If you got a V6, it changes the whole parameters that are set.
When it shifts.
It's different. And I know that at the factory that they change shift points when they're putting it in a V8 or a V6
for sure.
or a 4-cylinder. all of that changes, and the shift points change, and the way that it actually operates, it changes. And I think that, for me anyway, if I'm shopping for a new car, I am definitely going to look at the engine and the transmission, because for the most part, they have to work together and not fight one another.
Synchronous.
Correct. And smoothness, because if you've got a 10-speed automatic transmission and you couple it with a 250 horsepower four-cylinder car, it's going to hunt gears all day long. And depending on who makes the transmission and what car it's in and the way that the computer is set up, it will drive you insane, or you won't even notice it.
Right.
And so I think that it's extremely important.
And then because automatic transmissions, as much as people don't want to admit this, have a life cycle. You know, they're only going to last so long if you don't maintain them. If you do maintain them, you can make them last longer, but they still only last so long. And not that it's a wear item, but it's a wear item.
Well, it is a wear item.
It's a wear
yeah.
item. So, you know, now as you go from the 4 speeds to the 6 speeds to the 8 speeds to the 10 speeds, each step has increased the price of servicing and maintaining.
Have
that
you seen the
transmission.
size of those 10 speeds?
Oh my gosh, they're
It's bigger than
big
the
as this
motor.
table. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
that's
because
why
you
you
got
get-
3 planetary sets in them.
Yeah, and that's why you see them in the bigger trucks and stuff primarily, because they've got the room to put them in there.
Well, and it's all about fuel economy. You know, the manufacturers
that's
are trying
true.
to get some kind of fuel economy now that trucks are included in the EPA rating. You know, there was a point in time where, you know, pickup trucks weren't included in EPA rating. Now they are. So, you know, when you're talking 10-speed, 8-speed even, you've got 4 overdrive gears in that vehicle. So your final overdrive may be as low as 0.5.
But you're
to
basing
1.
it on a manual or 4-speed transmission.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
Good.
had 1 overdrive gear.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because, I mean, it really depends on how you want to look at it, whether it's an overdrive or that's just the drive.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
The
these
final
days.
drive.
So the other thing is CVT transmissions. And I was thinking about this when I wrote this down. I thought, CVT transmissions. When's the last time you had a new car to review that you got a CVT transmission in the car? I think that it was just a passing thing because I don't see very many CVTs anymore.
Everything at Nissan is a CVT. Everything at Nissan is a CVT.
But that's
most everything at Subaru is a CVT.
Is it?
Oh yeah. They still offer a manual transmission in their hot rod, but most everything at Subaru is a CVT. Toyota Priuses are all CVTs from day one to today, so they're all CVTs.
Or maybe it's just that I'm not getting them. But
Well, I think some of what's happened is they've recognized.
the truck that I had from Nissan just recently, it
Well,
did not.
full-size trucks
Well,
are
no,
a different
but
world.
I think that
yeah.
goes to the size of the
Is it too loud?
way too loud. It's giving me a headache. The size of the vehicle, I think,
Right.
it's got something to
Well,
do with it.
that's
Because here
completely
lately,
off
you've been
there.
getting full-size type vehicles, the trucks, the Tahoes, and things like that. So I don't think you're going to run into it there.
But a Pathfinder has a CVT in it at Nissan, and that's a fair size SUV.
I think that's considered mid-size for
Right.
them. Yeah, but it's not like a full-size suburban or type vehicle that you've been driving. That's what I'm saying.
But again, the CVT, they're out there, but what the manufacturers recognized is people want to feel a shift point. And they have done that. Nissan did that in about
Yes.
2014.
Yes, they did.
They've added what feels like a shift point so you can feel that gear advance. And in a CVT, there really is there's no
gear.
gearing. It's just 2 cones and a belt, and you move the
Right.
belt on the cones
It's
to get
just
your
so wrong on every
continuously
level.
variable transmission.
I know.
Yeah.
Snowmobile, chainsaw, all somewhat similar in functionality.
Yep.
But with that, you can get decent fuel economy and decent power, and
Well,
kind
that's
of
where you
put
pick
both
up
of them together.
a little bit, just like when we were talking about the Ram trucks and how they've got an electric motor that supplements the engine at the shift points. I mean, it's just a millisecond that it's there and it's engaged, but it keeps that power going. A little bit of gas here, a little bit of gas here.
Well, I will tell you, I think that there is definitely a place for a CVT, and it almost is at the point now when you've got a lower horsepowered car, it just makes more sense to me
Right.
to go for a CVT as opposed to a 10-speed on a 250 horsepower motor. Because then it's always hunting for gears. You don't have to worry about that in a CVT.
Though the CVT hunts for power, you don't notice it in the upshifts and
It's always
downshifts.
looking for the sweet spot.
It's always, right. It's always looking to stay in the power band.
Yep.
So that engine, whatever engine it is,
Right.
maybe it makes its most power at 3,400 RPM. Well, the engine will, and sometimes it can feel disconnected. The engine will stay at 3,400 RPM as the vehicle changes speed, but the engine doesn't change speed.
Yeah, because there's really only one gear in there per se.
Correct.
No gears to shift.
It's all continuously variable.
Right.
From underdrive to overdrive, it's one.
totally computer driven.
Mm-hmm.
There's no second guessing it. And I can't even remember. They don't have a low 2 and drive with a CVT transmission. It's just drive, isn't it?
Good.
I think
question, I don't know.
I'm trying to visualize it, and it seems like some of them have some paddle shifters on there so that you can think you're shifting gears.
But again, I think that's where they've added this.
If it's
you can
got
feel a shift
if
point.
it's got a low, I guess that would just strictly be where it wouldn't advance the cones in there to make it.
Either that or it makes it advance later to kind of keep you up in the power RPM.
But the bottom line is that a CVT in many cases is a choice that comes with the car that you may or may not be interested in buying.
You may not have a choice. You may have to take a CVT. Another one where CVT is very popular are minis. Minis, you can still get a manual. You can still get a 6-speed automatic, but a lot of minis are CVTs.
Man, if I had a Mini,
didn't know that.
the only one that I would have is the manual and a Mini.
The Cooper.
exactly.
Cooper
yeah, the
S,
Mini
yeah.
Cooper. Yeah. I mean, it's just me, but whatever. And then there is, as you mentioned,
The
and I forgot,
DCT.
the DCT. So explain to everybody what the DCT is while I let the dog out.
It's a manual transmission that's electronically shifted. So there's literally two clutches. DCT stands for dual clutch transmission. So there's literally two clutches, two physical clutches that are inside the transmission, and some of them are side by side, but most of them are stacked. And what it does is one clutch drives the even gears, the other clutch drives the odd gears. Besides Don being our odd gear, the computer is advancing or retarding the gear ratio based on the drive needs of the driver. But the thing about a dual clutch is when you're hitting it hard, it shifts now. A dual clutch can outshift somebody with a manual transmission all day long, and that's why you see the dual clutch transmissions are a lot of the high performance cars are dual clutch. Corvette is all DCT right now. It's that 8-speed DCT. Lamborghini, Ferrari are all DCT.
Let me just say this, that if you're in the market for a used car, the Ford Focus that was back in the
Early
2000s, I knew somebody that had a Ford Focus with the dual clutch transmission. What
A pile.
complete nightmare that was. And as a matter of fact, that person had the car repurchased or purchased back from Ford to give you another car. Still had the same transmission in it, but I think that they had done some manipulating,
upgrading to it.
fixing the transmission.
But
But it was in the shop all the time.
But that goes to early technology. The newness of technology when it comes out, I'm a firm believer in don't buy that first-year car. That car has just been released. Wait a year or two before you buy it.
And that's another thing.
Same with technology, because I'll tell you, CVT transmissions, the early CVT transmissions
God.
were horrible.
Yes, they were.
Now they're actually quite
So
good.
if you do your research when you go to buy a used car, can include that in your decision-making
exactly,
process
exactly.
and go back and look and see, was that a first-year model for the CVT transmission? Chances are you don't want
Or
that.
a lot of the other features, because there are some people, and I know several of them, They want that new one.
Right.
And they don't even think about things like that. It's just, I want
Sometimes
the
they
new
pay the
car.
price.
That's right. They
Yeah,
do.
it winds up in the shop all the time. Now, I hate this car. Well, but you bought it there's no secret these days with the internet. If people are having problems with it, they're going to diss it big time on the internet all over the place.
And in some cases, they get it right off the bat, but in a lot of cases, they don't.
Well, because part of it's technology. It's evolving. Like we were talking about earlier, things get better over the years because, okay, here's an idea. We built this. Now how can we make it better?
Right. Well, and time and mileage gives them experience on where the weak points of that technology are, so they upgrade it over and over again as they rebuild it the next year.
Bigger, better things.
And that's been the case in the auto industry forever.
From the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why Henry Ford sold 15 million Model Ts, and they never changed.
How dependable were those cars? How dependable, in today's standards, how dependable were they?
Oh, horrible.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say
Horrible.
today's standards.
In the standards back then, quite dependable, but by today's standards, horrible.
Well, what would
You
go
gotta-
wrong with them?
Well, you'd wear the engine out. You would literally wear an engine out, and I'll go back into the 40s and 50s. You ended up having to rebuild. You didn't hear about people going 100,000 miles. on
Oh,
an engine.
absolutely not.
Now 100, 200, 300, 400,000 miles is not unreasonable. But back then, you were always putting bearings in. That was the nature of what you did. You had to rebuild your motor. You don't rebuild motors.
Because when
anymore.
I think of some of the films that you go back and see cars from the 20s and the 30s with smoke billowing out of the back of it, obviously the rings have been toasted for years.
But that's whenever you could, and I've literally seen this happen. Get underneath it, drop the pan,
put bearings in it.
put bearings in it, and sometimes pull the pistons out, pop the heads, push the pistons out the top, put rings on it, and shove it back in.
Like a nitro
While
car.
you're doing there, you got half the bearings,
go.
you got half the rod loose to change the bearings.
Why not pull the pistons
Do it in the
out?
drive.
Of course, there wasn't near as much crap hanging off of the engine back in the day.
Nah.
Very
It was
little
nothing,
of
yeah,
anything.
and everything was accessible and it was easy to do. I remember that 54 Chevrolet pickup truck. You could stand in the engine bay around the engine. There was so much room in there.
Even with your two-barrel car, your two carburetor intake manifold on it.
Or how about the Monte Carlo when that thing came out? Remember, you could do the same thing. There was so much room
there was
up
so
there.
It was
much
almost
room
like a
under the hood,
serving
yeah.
bar up there in the front.
It was.
But and as the technology has advanced, the complexity has advanced, and then the government gets involved, and the government says no, it has to meet certain emission standards. When you look at a 70 small block Chevy, very simple motor.
Yep.
Now you look at a 2022 small block Chevy, the LS or the new LT motor.
If you can see it.
Yeah, if you can see it, because it's under so much stuff. All of the fuel injection system, all of the complexities of the emission system and stuff. It's totally different, and it's unbelievably expensive to service and maintain.
Yeah, and extremely complex.
Oh.
Because you do one thing to it, and it changes this over here and this over here.
And turns a check engine light on.
And, and then you've got to chase it down to figure out what in the world has gone wrong.
Yeah. Is it the gas cap isn't tight enough?
It used
or it
to
needs
be,
replaced?
you worry about the vacuum hose off the back of the carburetor because it's rotted hard as a rock back there.
And cracked.
And it sucked in air from the outside, and all it took was just to replace that hose. Not near that easy today.
There was a generation of cars, and I'm going to say probably through the late 80s to the early 90s, that may have had 60 feet of vacuum hose on them.
Yes.
Because they were doing everything vacuum actuated.
Right.
So that, when we talk about used cars, that's something to be concerned with, was what generation of technology was on that car, because those were notorious for brittle vacuum hoses and drivability problems.
Well, I can think of one in particular. I guess it was the 70 Chevy Impala, the Caprice, had 60 feet of vacuum lines, and remember that had the toilet float chain up there. He knows what I'm talking about. Toilet float
For the
chain
cruise control.
for the cruise control.
yeah.
And it never failed. Somehow, some way, that little toilet chain thing broke. Well, my cruise control's now.
Or kink up. And
It was crazy. Some of the stuff that they did back in the day.
Ruse goes, the DP6 and a Focus was pure junk. Lawsuit alley.
Yeah, right. So I hope his health is doing well. You know, he's back in the hospital here recently.
I think he's
Was
back
he?
home.
yeah, I thought he
he's
was
back
home.
Yeah. At any rate, so that's our discussion on the transmissions. Next, we're going to talk about car interiors and why it's important to decide what you want in your car interior when you buy a car, whether it's new or used. All right, time now for some of the stories making auto news headlines this week. We got some recalls to tell you about. Toyota Sequoia and Tundra for 21 and 22. Oil leak may cause a loss of power steering assist. Ram 1500, 2500, 3500 from 21 to 22. Side curtain airbag may deploy improperly.
That'd scare the critters out of you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. As it unfolds in a matter of 1 second as it blows towards your head. Lamborghini Aventador, and I know that we've got a lot of Lamborghini fans that watch and listen to the show. For the 2021 model, the heat exchanger oil lines may detach. That would not be a good thing.
That'd be an expensive day.
That would be a new motor on that one. Mercedes-Benz EQS
That's
450 580 and the S500 580 from 21 and 22. Infotainment system may cause driver distraction.
Well, the EQS is their EV.
Yeah. Well, I like the cause of the recall. The infotainment system may cause driver distraction.
You
How
think?
about the cell phone that those people are on all the time?
Texting.
Audi e-tron GT for 2022. The retaining ring on the air suspension struts may loosen. Who comes up with this stuff? I guess they have to self-report, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the Kia Rio for 20 and 21, reduced braking performance. Don't know why. Reduced braking performance also on the Hyundai Accent for 2021. Those are the recalls this week. As you know, this is a kind of a week-old story, but General Motors Chevrolet Corvette plant in Bowling Green down last week for repairs after the tornado started a fire at the plant early Saturday morning, a week ago today. Several tornadoes tore through 6 states Friday and Saturday, killing more than 90 people and causing catastrophic damage. Those poor people. Did you see the destruction?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I'm on a couple of forums with plant employees there in Bowling Green, kind of watching what's going on. And it was really heartwarming to see how people were reaching out, because the path of the tornado was pretty wide, but if you weren't in the path, you didn't have any damage. And hundreds of people getting on those forums saying, hey, look, I got a generator. Hey, look, I got extra rooms. I've got extra cars. Contact me and see what we can do. That, they're doing a lot that they can to help themselves. But, there's things we could do for Christmas. My big... the one I would give to is Samaritan's Purse. If you're looking for somebody to donate to, Samaritan's Purse, because I had very bad experience with Red Cross after Harvey. But the Samaritan's Purse, they were there that next morning setting up tents, feeding people, watering people, bringing transportation and stuff in and cleaning up. So that whole part of the country is still devastated.
Yeah.
The Biden administration on Monday released a strategy for building a nationwide network of charging stations for electric vehicles. Oh, really? Monday. The roughly $1 trillion infrastructure law President Joe Biden Brandon signed last month includes $7.5 billion to help build 500,000 EV charging stations across the U.S. and $65 billion for upgrades to the nation's electric grid. Thought you'd want to know that.
They were there when Biden was in Kentucky this week, and chants of "Let's go, Brandon" broke out while he was
Did
there.
it really?
Yes.
Let's go, Brandon.
I just want a question in case somebody can answer this. Once they build all these charging stations,
Yes.
who's going to own them?
Well, that maybe you. And I guess
we're going to pay for them, but I mean, who's going to actually own them and maintain them?
I don't know.
Because the maintenance of them is not going to be cheap.
No.
All right. Well, that's it for this segment of the In Wheel Time Car Show. We've got our last hour coming up, and we hope you'll stay tuned. We'll be right back. Because of inclement weather, the Tailpipes and Tacos December Cruise-In was canceled. Darn it. The winter returns in the spring. Expect a new and exciting way to enjoy the gathering. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's unique Saturday morning cruise-in, and with a new quarterly format, you'll have more time for car mods and to get ready for cruise-in trophies. Yup, you can compete for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, and more. And the top car will be featured on a full-size poster that'll be used to promote the next event. Bragging rights are guaranteed here. Tailpipes and Tacos wants to thank all participants and visitors who made the event an exclusive, fun gathering of unique cars, trucks, hot rods, and lots of muscle. And we know you'll enjoy it even more in 2022. Tailpipes and Tacos will still be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, just south of I-10 at Kingsland Boulevard on 99, the Grand Parkway. Stay tuned right here to the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show, and we'll tell you the exact date for the next event. Until next time, be sure to visit the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, where you'll find the best fajitas this side of California. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net. Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, it's the In Wheel Time Car Show. Just ahead, we talk about car interiors. As far as your purchase is concerned, I think that you'll want to hear this discussion. We got your weekly cruise-in calendar. Conrad has This Week in Auto History. And I'll have the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Just ahead on the In Wheel Time Car Show. Howdy. Along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Don Armstrong here, Jeffrey Zekin, the fourth wheel in the chain. You like that? The fourth wheel.
The loose wheel.
Well, and he is the loose wheel, that's for sure. But we miss you, Jeff. Get well soon, and we'll see you back on our next live show. And speaking of which, a couple of, what do they call it, housekeeping notes. We're not at Tailpipes and Tacos today because of the threat of rain. And we know
that hasn't happened yet.
Well, it's moving in. But at any rate, yes. So Stan said, let's not do it. And I agree. I think it was
especially because it's going to move to a judged show. That that we were trying to get a little higher.
You don't have to be judged, but you're good if you're there.
The option will be there for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll take a trophy. Give me a trophy. What is my trophy going to be today?
Amen. That's right.
What is my trophy going to be today?
Right here.
No. What is my trophy going to be for today? My trophy. What are you going to give me a trophy for? Being handsome, good looking, debonair.
Your birthday.
I don't have that.
It's tomorrow. Your birthday.
I don't have that. Now,
we have to celebrate your birthday.
Yeah, I don't have a birthday.
The gnome.
The gnome?
Yep. We have a gnome.
Do I
Thanks,
get that? What do I get that award for?
For getting older.
No.
Lasting another year.
No, there's no birthday. So, at any rate, and I also
the Queen of Nile. Queen of the Nile.
Queen of Denial.
Queen of Denial. I like that. It's kind of fitting, don't you think?
Yes. Goes with the red pumps.
Yeah. I got the slippers on today.
And green thong. Did you see the guy on the airplane with the thong on his face?
The red thong?
That was
I told
perfect.
my wife, she said, well, how did he put it on?
Like this.
Now, let me ask you something. What's wrong with it?
He got permanently banned from United
I know
Airlines.
that, but what is wrong with it?
Nothing at all was wrong with it.
What's the difference between it and what we consider a regular face mask?
It covered.
Isn't that what the purpose
Covered
is?
his nose and his mouth, best I could tell.
It might have been too lacy.
No, it was solid red. It was bright red. It was very Christmassy. I thought it was very much in the spirit of the season.
So, speaking of spirit of the season, in the next couple of weeks, next 2 Saturdays, Mr. Mars is going to put together, this is going to be a first for us, a best of show. So we're going to have 6 segments, 6 30-minute segments for the 3-hour show that we do that are the best of. And we've been trying to decide, how do you choose, out of all of the segments, because there's 6 segments a week. Well, do the math. 6 times 52 that's a lot of segments. Mm-hmm. So how do you pick which is the best one? And do you have one in particular in mind that?
For me, I thought show-wise, it was a couple of years ago, the Betty Skelton show.
I agree with you.
I just thought that the range of people we had on to talk to George, the nephew, to talk to the museum, National Corvette Museum, and then also talking to somebody who was a member of her club
down in Florida,
in Florida, in the Villages. I just thought that was just a great show. I would just play that whole show in its entirety. That was my choice. There are other segments of shows I thought were great. I still think a couple of the Shirley Muldowney segments are hilarious. She is an absolute hoot. She's great to have as an interview. Maybe some of the better interviews we've had.
And she will also kick your butt if you're not careful.
Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
The Antron Brown interviews, the stuff we did out at NHRA, some of those were a lot of
You
fun.
writing this down, Mars?
Yes, sir, I am.
And I think one of the Antron Browns is one of our award-winning interviews, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
Another great interview, and what a hoot he is.
Yes, he is.
And over time, there's some of the other stuff we've done. There's a Bill Perkupic.
Yeah, John Hovis's place.
Out at Hemi Hideout.
Yeah.
He's always interesting to talk to because of his craftsmanship of what he does and some of those things that he does that nobody else is doing anymore. And he's developing ways to do, the drop glass letters and stuff. And that kind of trial and error to get it right, to do basically to redo stuff.
His skill level is unbelievable. Talk about talented people. We're very fortunate in doing this show to meet some of the most talented people you have ever met in your entire life.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And he is right up there.
Yeah.
Bill Seitz is another one.
Oh, yeah.
He is, and I was also thinking about tailpipes and not tailpipes and tacos, where we interviewed the guys coming out of Hollywood.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
The Hollywood cars.
At Keels and Wheels, yeah.
Right,
there was a
Keels and
couple
Wheels.
of them.
Yeah, he was fascinating. The guy that actually
guy
supplied
and
the guy
Ford versus Ferrari cars.
Yeah, he was fascinating because that was his father's company that he took over, and he said that I've been so successful, I just as soon sell the company. But the movie producers in Hollywood keep coming back to him because he has the connections. And, in our business of cars that we do, of course, you in particular, we have made some really good friends. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's a lifestyle, really. Some people, have a knitting club or whatever the case may be. Ours is cars, and it is so unique but so widespread that all of us are enthusiasts.
Another one comes to mind for me, and I think we've done Gene Winfield twice now. Yes. Maybe 3 times.
I know
at least twice.
I don't think that we'll be doing him again because he's in poor health.
Yeah. But I think he's also a great interview because to think of his history in the hot rod genre from the 50s through all the movie cars he did.
I was just going to say he was friends with George Barris.
Right.
Yes.
And he helped on some of those cars.
And now Ian, I can't remember his last name.
Yes.
He's moved out there to Mojave to build next to his property is right next to Winfield's property.
Correct.
But, what a genius of a person he is, and what a hoot of his personality to sit there and talk to him.
I wish that we could get him on the show. We need to try to do that. Do you know who I'm talking about? You know who we're talking about?
Ian?
Yeah.
Oh,
Ian.
I was thinking Gene.
Ian
Roy.
Roussel.
Well, yeah.
Ian Roussel. He is one of the
But he's another out-of-the-box thinker.
Yes, he is. And don't get me wrong, I love the guys on, chasing classic cars. The guys out in Salt Lake City,
Kindig.
Dave Kindig, Foose, Chip Foose. There are some wonderful guys and here locally. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Randy Borcherding.
Yes.
What a talented bunch of people that are true car enthusiasts and very skilled at what they do. But Ian Roussel is a creator, a thinker that thinks outside the box. How do you think of stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had that talent. I don't have that talent.
Yeah, it's to me, it's kind of like musicians. They talk about they hear songs in their head, or they've got music in
That's
their
right.
head trying to get. And I'm going. I start trying to do that. I mean, of all my voices, none of them can sing. Not one of them can sing, and none of them can dream up cars and pictures and things like that.
All the voices in my head.
None of them can sing. That's what I can tell you. And so
One of those kinds of voices.
Not going to go there.
Yeah. So
You can send your comments into info@inwheeltime.com. Well, George says we need 6 segments of Jeff Zekin.
well, that we could
more
have
Jeff, yeah.
we need more Jeff. We always need more Jeff.
But I think there's, what are we, in our 11th year? Pushing
we
our
will
12th
be, yes.
year?
Yeah.
No, 11th year.
There's some good stuff out there that we've done. There's some weird stuff that we've done too,
And
which is just as much fun. But
And
there's some
goes,
very
and
good.
it goes off the track actually very easily. Like this conversation has been, we've just spent 5 minutes talking about the next 2 shows that are going to be the best of. So anyway, let's get back to the focus at hand, and that would be choosing used or new vehicles to buy, to purchase. And I'm talking about cars that you would drive every day, cars that maybe sit in the driveway a couple of days a week, but for the most part, they're
It's a
daily
driver.
drivers.
Yeah.
But you
So-
wanted to talk this segment about interiors.
Car interiors. And you know that I am not a huge fan of leather interiors. If I could change, and I could change the interior on my Corvette, I would put cloth seats in it. It could have the leather bolsters on it. And I've seen them. Some of them look really, really good in that car. But I would have cloth inserts.
Red cloth inserts.
Not necessarily, but whatever. Color is
thought.
color is one thing, and that's one of the things that I think that
Do the Indian blanket inserts like Ford
yeah,
did
yeah,
in the
yeah.
Broncos. That was actually pretty cool.
it would work fine in the Ford Bronco, but in the Corvette, not so
But
much.
for me, I like that rich Corinthian leather
I know you
of
do.
Ricardo Montalban. Though the problem with that is when it's 140 degrees in the car and you get in and you can literally hear your skin sizzle when you sit on it.
Yes.
But you kind of get used to it. I know Mars, he's into the velour pillows.
from the 80s.
Of the 80s.
Yeah,
and-
the button tuck on the door panels and the back
Absolutely.
seat. All
Had a
velour.
Buick Regal that had
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but everybody has that view of what they want their interior to be like, and again, some of that comes to how much do you want to spend. Cloth interiors tend to be the lower price point or the non-optional price point. The richer velours, which you really can't find anymore, but at that
No.
point, those were actually a step up.
Yes, they were.
And then you had the leather, which is always a step up, and then you have the Recaro leather, which is the
And now they've got
premium
several
step
different
up.
kinds
Right,
of leathers
right.
there. But a lot of people don't want, or at least let me say, like my parents, for example, they didn't want leather. Hey, we ain't got no leather, for the longest time because they were concerned with the wear and tear on the leather, the maintenance on the leather, how to take care of it.
And now they like it because it's easier to slide in.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that I don't have to worry about that in the Corvette. I kind of fall into it. But with the Corvette, I mean, these days when it comes to leather interiors, there are different levels of leather,
Right.
if you will. One of them is ventilated, and that comes along with usually air-conditioned seats, but not necessarily. I have seen and have had a couple of perforated leather seats that don't have
The air conditioning.
the air conditioning or heat in them. And that's another option, too, is heated seats.
Well, two different things. Heated seats, there is literally an electric grid, a little waffle iron grid that's built into the seats. So it's built into the bottom. And some of the heated seats, you can get the bottom to heat, or you can get the lower back to heat, or you can get both to heat. Ventilated or air-conditioned seats really just have the AC blower is blowing cold air up into your seat bottom.
Yeah,
You changed that, did you notice?
Yeah, and it's basically just ventilation.
Yeah,
is what
it's just moving cold air into the seat bottom. I've never been a fan of cooled seats because it feels like you're sitting in a wet spot.
Exactly.
You know.
It's that dampness from that cool coming
Now,
into
how
the
would
cabin.
you know what it's like to sit in a wet spot? Just saying.
Not going to go there. But the cooled seats are kind of desirable in the hot places like Houston and Phoenix and stuff, where you don't have to waffle your seats.
But you're going to pay a premium for it.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's always that dependability aspect
How long
of it.
does it last, and
Right.
when does
How it's
something
gonna
go
wear.
wrong?
Right.
And again, as you're talking about interiors, the complexity of interiors. You know, now you have like Angie's Mercedes. She's got the upgrade seats, so she has a bolster for her thighs that moves forward and backwards.
Yes.
You got the butterflies for your sides. You've got the butterflies for your thighs. You got the electric headrests, which to me all talk about long-term dependability and the cost of repairing down the line.
But generally
if something goes
speaking,
wrong.
if you're the driver, once you got it set, you don't
Right.
change it unless somebody
Correct.
comes in there and jacks with it, like at the service bay or whatever.
Well, I'm not allowed to drive Angie's Mercedes.
Good.
But
and you
even
should.
at that, hers has probably got the memory seats on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So as the driver, you go in there, you get it like you want. Okay, well, I'm number one, so you set it. So even if somebody does get in there and jack with it,
Should be easy
number
enough
one,
to-
and boom, you're right
Or
back
if you're
there.
like Conrad, with a new car that I show him, he goes in there and he sets all of these different things, changes the mirrors, and I'm going, wait a minute, there's an orange light on the dash. Oh, he's pressed this button over here, so I have to unpress that button. Thank you for that.
yeah.
Jerk.
Only because I'm sure you haven't figured all of those things out yet either.
Yeah,
No,
he's trying to
'Cause
help
don't-
you out.
You're like all the other customers. You never read the owner's manual.
Yeah.
But on interiors,
Have you seen the size of an owner's manual
oh,
these
gosh.
days?
But
It's
on
like a phone book.
a lot of
300
them,
and something
a lot
pages?
of them you download online, or it's built into the driver information center. But on interiors, you need to know the owner's manual. You need to understand how to make all those adjustments in there, whether it's adjustments to the mirrors, to the seats, adjustments that you can stabilize in the air conditioning system, adjustments to the lighting. You know, do you want a 30-second delay or a 60-second delay? Do you want the horn to honk when you hit the lock button? Do you want the lights to flash when you hit the lock button? All of those personalized presets, you better understand how to do them.
Speaking of which, I've never read the Corvette manual. I found out, I had to look up something, I don't remember what it was. I found out that there are some adjustments that I can make through the car's computer that I had no clue that I could make those adjustments. I still haven't made them, but they're
But
they're
now
in
you know
there.
they're in there.
Yeah.
You know, so think of how many people pay for that up-level car. They pay for that interior option package and never utilize all of the features that are
Well,
available
it's
to them.
like you and your sunroof on your pickup truck or the Kia or whatever
Right.
whatever it is
The Kia, yeah.
that's in your family, that the thing has never been opened and the sunshade has never been taken back. And that's why I'm truly, I mean, it's not that I'm against them, but they just don't make any sense here in Houston, Texas, to me.
Right.
Right. No,
Because
you're right.
because 9 months out of the year, it's too hot to have a glass roof open
or even a glass roof over your head.
Right. It makes no sense. So I'm not going to pay for that. But if I have to have it, it's going to be the shade over the thing because I don't need it.
Yeah.
Or I can use the tilt-up glass to vent all the heat out of the car in August and September.
Right. That's like when we lived in San Antonio, I learned real quick the prime parking spaces are in the shade.
So what color interior do you get? Do you get the beige interior that's a whole lot easier on a hot day on your butt? Or are you going to get the black interior because it looks so good on the red car?
Or the gray. You know, interior color choices are not what they used to be.
And they're a lot narrower
That's
today than they used to be.
You may have 3 interior color choices, black, gray, and brownish or earth
And a lot of
tones.
that depends on the paint color that you've got in the vehicle.
And I will tell you that some of those things, they still don't work. And in my opinion...
You mean the pairing of interior,
yes,
exterior
it just is like, who put that color combination together? And this new dark football-looking leather interior that has no place against another color that they clash. No,
I agree with you. That football or that basketball brown might look nice on
a black car
on a certain color, but it doesn't look, or lack of color in black or white, but it doesn't look good on a gray or a silver. It just, you're right, it does clashes.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So I guess that the point that we're trying to make here is that the fact that you really need to drill down in these interiors. And the other thing, and that I mentioned last hour, was the fact that infotainment systems are changing every model year, almost every model year. They either get upgraded from the old system or it's a whole new system. And you really...
When you buy used.
If you buy used or even new, you really need to know what you're getting because you may have an infotainment system that's basically 5, 6, 7, 8 years old as far as the technology is concerned in a brand new car. Wait a couple of years if that's what you want to do to get the upgraded infotainment system.
And if you're buying used, does it come with an owner's manual so you know how to use the infotainment system?
Well, yeah, because like my 2015, all right, it's basically 7 model years old now. The truck's sitting out there.
Yep.
So it's got a Gen 3 Uconnect system in it. Well, it is so far back because now you went through 4, now you're 5, and they're fixing to come out with 8, and you can't upgrade it. I mean, it's gone too far to be able to upgrade it.
Yeah, probably the hardware itself isn't capable of doing the new stuff.
So you got to basically take the whole head out.
Yeah.
And put
I
the
don't
new
even
head
think
in.
I don't even think that you can do that.
Yeah, no,
because they're so integrated into the car.
Correct.
It's aftermarket. You can do an aftermarket. I've
yeah,
looked
but
at
you
it.
pay a ton for it.
Well, sure you do.
You know, back to interior colors. You go back years ago, you had red, blue, green, parchment, or the white. The gray, the black, you'd have 7 or 8 color combinations.
Yeah, and it's a little variation off of each one of them, yeah.
And then, I remember when I was working at Bowling Green Assembly Plant, Copos, Central Order Production Option, people copoed a red interior in that yellow Corvette because they wanted to have that one of 4 or 5.
Well, Viper did that kind of when they were going out of production with the Viper. You could literally go in and spec it out.
I remember that.
And they would say, okay, you bought this car with this plaid interior, blah, blah, color.
One of one.
And that's it. They wouldn't make any more of them because they were going out of production. But you could literally get in all kinds of weird things. Mm-hmm. It was kind of weird, but it was kind of unique.
Well, I think that it's certainly something because that's one thing that you can't get away from. You might be able to exit out the color of the exterior color because you don't see it all the time. But the interior, it's going to greet you every time you open the door.
We did a blue interior on a blue car for Angela back in the early 90s, and she hated it. I mean, she loved it when she first got it and quickly was bored to death with it. Yeah. And had to, I flipped the car as quick as I could.
Well, I've thought about, upgrading the seats in the Corvette, which, no, that's not going to happen because of the price that I'd have to pay for it. I thought, okay, well, what am I going to do? Some red inserts and, all of that. I don't. It's not going to happen this year. I can tell you that. My next upgrade is going to be headlights, and that's another thing. Is that my 20-year-old Corvette may have been state of the art 20 years ago, but lighting sucks today, and I can't see anything. And that's going to be my next investment. Okay, time to move on. So the next half hour, our focus is going to be on, drum roll, please, paint, color, and care.
Ooh.
Okay, so that's what we got coming up. Time now for the Cruise In calendar. Do you happen to have that handy?
Yeah, there's a couple of things out in the future, and then we'll talk just briefly about a racing calendar if that's not on the list, or is that somewhere
No,
else?
we're not going to talk about that. We don't have time. I'm running behind.
December 26th, Cars and Cocktails at Little Woodrow's up in Tomball. And then Lucky's Rod Run is going to be January 9th up in College Station.
That's I've
and
been on
you've
that
done
one time,
Lucky's
yeah.
Rod Run. That's always a fun. That's always a fun event. But again, remember tonight at Kim's Tea Room is Crew on Deck, and they're going to have some race cars out there, and that's at 1523 South Mason in Katy.
Time now for this hour's car review. The 2022 GMC Yukon XL comes in these trim levels: the SLE, the SLT, the AT4, and the... like a limo. What are you doing
And
over
lots
there
of
with
them,
your video?
and lots of them become limos.
I finished it.
You finished the video. Okay. Okay. Well, you said that like you're proud. Here, let me pat you on the back.
But it made it to the end.
What could use improvement in that ride and handling? Seriously, I'm talking about a limo ride. in a truck.
Oh,
Suspension. It's pretty good. Okay. Pricing. Base trim price. Now, this is the biggest SUV on the market today, okay? Base trim price is $75,200. Prices tested is $88,245.
For a Yukon Denali.
XL. The long one.
Loaded to the gills.
Loaded to the gills. Mm-hmm. But you can get in one. The base price is $54,300.
For a Yukon XL.
Uh-huh. Which is kind of surprising. Okay, competitors. This is $54,300. Remember that. So the competitors, the Ford Expedition, $49,625. The Chevy Suburban, $52,400. And the Cadillac Escalade, $79,195. And that is my review of the 2022 Yukon XL four-wheel drive Denali loaded to the hilt, bad to the bone SUV.
What would I add to it? The supercharged motor.
Okay.
Put the 600 horsepower in it.
Is that available?
Not in that. It's an engine that Chevrolet and General Motors have in the cars, but they don't put it in the trucks.
Hey, the In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts are available from your very favorite podcast source. We invite you to check those out. If you can't watch or see or listen to our whole show, you can listen to the segments on the podcast. The In Wheel Time Car Show continues right after this. Until next time, be sure to visit the Luby Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, where you'll find the best fajitas this side of California. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net. Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, it's the In Wheel Time Car Show. We continue our Your Car series. We talk about exteriors, paint, colors, and care. We'll also have This Week in Auto History, and we'll get you updated on the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We need more. Jeff Zekin is not with us today, recovering from his back surgery.
Yeah, really need more Jeff.
Hurry the hell back, because
Please.
Mars can't do video and audio at the same time.
I'm lost, Jeff. I need some help.
You need lots of help.
That too.
He was looking for the checklist, Jeff. Do you have the checklist?
Which is an ongoing joke around here. Do we have the checklist yet? No, we don't have that yet.
No, we don't.
Well, so we continue our series on your cars. And so if you're in the market for buying a car, whether it be new or used, we've kind of gone over all of the various and sundry things that we think that you should look at when making your decision on what kind of car to buy. Well, one of the things that we kind of alluded to it in our last segment was the vehicle exterior. And as you probably know, well, you may not know, that many different trim levels of new cars have different accoutrements.
Accoutrement. Can you spell that?
Accoutrement. No, I can't. Not without spell check. Accoutrement that adorn the exterior of vehicles. There always used to be a big difference in the Chevy Biscayne and the Chevy Impala.
Mm-hmm.
The Biscayne had the dog dish steel wheels.
4 taillights versus the Impala that had 6 taillights.
Yeah. And
I think Biscayne was always a bench seat.
yes.
Where the Impala, you could order buckets and a console.
Yeah.
But you could also get the bench in it as well. Content level was higher. But again, that goes back to what Mars talked about on his Kia, is the option content based on the vehicle package, SE, SEL, SX. Well, back in the day, Chevrolet did that with Biscayne, Bel Air, Impala, Caprice as those generations of cars moved through the Chevy platform. Oldsmobile did it with Delmont 88,
Yes,
Delta
the Delmont.
88.
Oh, my God, yes.
So all of the manufacturers have done it that way.
They still do.
They still do.
Yes.
It hasn't changed.
As a matter of fact, the car that I just reviewed, the GMC Yukon Denali, top of the line.
4 or 5 ranges.
4, yeah. And there's a pretty big difference visually to the exterior of the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Wheels change.
Stance changes.
Yep. The grills change. It's very unique and it's the one thing that is most visually recognizable. If you put all of the Yukon Denalis together, the XLs, and you look at the different trim levels, you can notice the trim levels.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might not notice it going down the road, but there is a definite difference. And, of course, the content on the interior, engine choices and that sort of stuff. But I don't think that paint colors change for the most part on most cars when it comes to the different trim levels. I think that if you want a Yukon Denali, these are the exterior colors. And usually, and I haven't looked, but usually there's at least 8 different exterior colors for that particular model year. Mm-hmm. And I'm using the truck as an example. 8 seems to be somewhere in the usual medium range of some. Some cars offer less, some cars offer more. But the colors change, and we had this discussion before we went on the air, Conrad and I, and that paint colors on automobiles, when I first learned of how they do it, what they select to offer you in a paint color, you have to understand that those paint colors were really guessed upon 3 to 5 years ahead of time. Now, a lot changes. The economy changes, and that has a lot to do with paint colors that you buy today.
Based on where fashion is moving, is going to drive paint colors.
If you ever do any research, if you like to look at stuff like this, and because we're all car nuts, we kind of do sometimes get off on a tangent and look at research paint colors and how that process takes place. It takes place not only with the manufacturers, but the paint manufacturers themselves.
PPG or whomever.
Yeah, whoever they buy paint from. And it's a very long, involved process that they say, okay, so the Aztec bronze that we're going to offer this year in the Corvair, we're not going to offer it next year. It's only going to be available this year. And there are many things that go into that paint choice that they offer you. So what they might have as an Arctic white pickup truck this year is not going to be Arctic white next year.
It may be polar white
That's
next
it.
year.
And
there might not be any real difference between the two of them, but they change the names that, because they can.
They may put a drop of gray in a gallon of paint to change it.
I made the mistake one time, interior paint.
Just one time?
Well, this one in particular that relates to this. and I told my wife, just paint it white.
Oh my gosh.
That was a big mistake. I did not realize there was over 20 different
Variations
whites
of white.
because that's exactly like you say. It's got a little drop of gray, or it's got a little drop of
Green,
You can't.
a
I
little
can't
drop of
see the
yellow,
difference
right.
in them.
Now this is where Borcherding would be great because I think he sees color. You know, he sees that in his head. He knows how those little minute amounts can change the hue of a color.
It's back to the artist.
Borcherding, the guy who owns Paint House.
Yeah, Randy.
The number one color in the industry is what?
White.
It has been for years.
Yeah.
Number two is
Black.
You know, and that amounts for almost 50% of the vehicles out there. Number three is gray.
Yes, in various shades.
surprising.
Matter of fact, my friend that just bought the new Tesla has a very dark gray. It's absolutely beautiful. And you'd think, well, my gosh, gray. Isn't that a primer color? Yeah, it is.
You know, and I've always been a fan of the non-metallic, what I call the battleship gray.
Yep.
I think that's a gorgeous color.
The straight paints.
But it comes and goes. You know, you don't see it for a number of years, and then all of a sudden it'll pop back in as the paint companies or the fashion of it comes back around. So,
Do you know that the economy plays a part in paint colors that the auto manufacturers offer you? Did you know that? The economy.
Did not know that.
so we're all going to go dull gray here for the next. 4 years of
yes,
brand.
they will offer darker colors as the economy goes south.
Interesting.
It is.
Didn't realize that. Mm-hmm. You know, and then you look at some of these manufacturers who do the expressive colors, let's say.
Like Dodge.
Well, yeah, when they did that whole range of Touareg, what was the green?
The lime green
Yeah.
thing, yes.
You know, that whole rapid transit collection of colors that they did. But it's not just them. You know, we talked about the Corvette, the purple Corvette Pace car of 1988.
Oh, my God.
With-
Horrible.
With the yellow and white stripes on it and the yellow interior.
Yellow interior. Yeah.
And the yellow wheels.
Gag me.
Yellow wheels. It was just awful.
And then, you know, and even today, you've got, you know, Dodge Challengers. You can get those in a pretty cool little deep purple color. A few years back, Ford did that shape-shifting green purple color on the Mustang.
Yep.
And then the pearlescent colors. Very, very low production on those and very expensive to repair on those. But again, all being driven by fashion, and maybe 1 or 2 years only as all those were offered.
Well, you know, the other thing is that I lost my train of thought. I'll think of it in a minute. I was going to say
train.
that, huh?
Short
Oh,
train.
don't diverge him from what he was thinking. He was just getting back on track. You know, and then the difficulties of painting a color, whether it's in the repair side of things to repaint a color or the production side of things. And I'm going to go back to 1988 Corvette. They did one called Aztec Gold, and it's coming up in Unicorn Hunting here in a couple of weeks. And this Aztec Gold, they made 5 of them, and they know the sequence of VINs of the 15 that they made. They made 5 of them, didn't like it. They reformulated, made another 5 of them, didn't like it, reformulated, made another 5 of them, and said, oh, heck, we can't do this color, and stopped. They only made 15 Aztec Gold Corvettes in 1988 because they couldn't get the color right, and they couldn't get the, I think Randy Borcherding would call it the flop of the metal, metallic in it,
Yep.
but it was very mottled, and they just never liked it. So, very collectible car today, and there's
I'm
actually
surprised
2
they
of them in
actually sold
Houston.
them.
Yeah, there's actually 2 of them in Houston, but, you know, the difficulty manufacturers have producing certain colors.
Well, I don't know whether you're old enough to remember, but paint just came with the car. Shut up.
I didn't say a word.
The paint came with the car, and the thought of the manufacturer charging you extra for any kind of paint was just out of the question. Now, it's pretty much commonplace. They may have 1 or 2 paint colors that they offer at no extra charge, but the ones that you want, they're going to charge you anywhere from $400 to $1,000 more.
More than that, Angie's Mercedes, her GLC 300 has that kind of blood metallic red, and it was like $400 extra. They also offered this satin-colored brown that was like $4,000 extra. I wasn't a player at that, but and those various colors that they do, and the extra cost is because there's an extra cost for the color
to put that in,
and then there's a cost for line time to spray the car, because they're going to have to go back in after they spray that and do a lot of cleaning to change colors.
Well, and that was my next thing that I wanted to throw out there, especially if you were into new cars are included in this, because a lot of guys will take a new car, love the paint, but change it up. And there are wraps that you can put on it to make it a satin finish. It's kind of a clear satin finish wrap. These wraps today, $2,000, $4,000, but you can change the color of the car. The problem is that if you want to change the color of the car, now you have to go in and do something with all of the door edges, the door openings, under the hood, wherever there's color, you got to go back and color that. So do you really want to put an off-color wrap on the car?
Some people do.
Some people do.
Well, they do, but again, you're looking. I just want to change the exterior on it. This is not permanent. I know it's not permanent. I'm going to do it for a couple of years, and I'm going to take the wrap off.
Yeah,
change it.
And that is the thing, and we saw that at the car show with the Galleria,
the JDM guys.
The JDM guys, that they used a lot of, as Randy said. At one of the shows, he said, "You're going to put stickers on that car?" No. Yeah, and no, and I'm going to put stickers on the car. But that is a thing these days.
Well, you know, when you go out and you go to some of these high-level shows, and in rolls the guy with the Lamborghini with the blue chrome wrap on it or the red chrome wrap on it, open the doors, and they didn't do the door jambs, which is what Mike's saying. It's all that impact, the visual impact of the vehicle, not necessarily the desire to change it forever.
Right. And I think part of the deal with the JDM guys, after we talked to them for a while, to them it's a cost.
Cheaper
it was cheap, and it was something they could do. I mean, they could get together over the weekend and literally do the kind of cars they were doing. I mean, they weren't real complicated. They didn't have a lot, and they were covering up door handles.
Yeah, because they were just buying sheets. They weren't buying cut to fit, which, what Gulf Coast Auto Shield does. They do cut to fit.
Yep.
These guys are just, I'll get a sheet of blue and we'll,
but lay it out just about like doing window tint.
Exactly.
I've never seen it done, but
and get the hairdryer out to make it all fit the curves and all the different nuances of the car's body. It's quite extensive if you want to do that. But I think that going forward in the fact that, if you're going to buy a used car, remember those cars and those colors were popular 3 years ago.
Might not be today.
Correct. And if you want to play it safe,
in 2 years when you get ready to sell it.
That's true. But I don't think most people don't look at the time when they're going to sell it and what's going to retain value when it comes to paint. I think that the car itself pretty much speaks for itself, and it gets to a point in a resale that I don't think paint makes that big of a difference unless you got some weirdo paint, something that hardly anybody would actually like. But if you stay with pretty standard,
like the purple Corvette,
with the yellow stripes and stuff on it,
that was so ugly. I can't believe that they did that. Somebody at Chevrolet went,
approved that.
Yeah, let's do that. Somebody had to dream that up first and present it. And then through a group of people, they all went around and go, yeah, let's do that.
Well, and then, some of that, there's, again, the collectability of it. There's a friend of mine in the Oldsmobile Club, Darren Barrier. She's got what she calls a black and blue 442.
A bruise.
Yeah, it's a black outside car that has blue interior, which is an odd pairing.
Right.
But that was the originally ordered pairing of it. I know Darren's on the air, is watching, so that's why I figured I'd say that. But those pairings can be quite collectible from the past, and some people want to create that collectability today.
You know, but the black and the blue, that's
It kind of goes together.
well, it kind of goes together, and that's not real strange. But now you take the purple Corvette with the yellow interior.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, you know, I when you were talking about it just now, it dawned on me. That had to come from somebody pretty high up that everybody else didn't want to say no to. Didn't want to say, hey, stupid, that's stupid.
Yeah.
You know, so it had to be somebody pretty high up in the company that said, ooh, I had a bad trip this weekend. Let me tell you about this purple and yellow Corvette I saw. And everybody's going, oh, yeah.
Well, we hope you liked our whole show that's devoted to cars and going out and buying one and things that we think that would make a difference in your purchase of new or used cars. I don't know. Does that work for you?
Yep.
Okay. All right. We'd love to hear from you. Just shoot us an email. Our address here is info@inwheeltime.com. Time now for This Week in Auto History. Now, are you going to put audio or video on this?
No, sir.
He's not going to put video on this because the problem is he puts video on it, it cuts the audio. Don't touch it.
There is a setting
Don't
someplace
touch
that
it.
Jeff does.
We don't care. Let's go for This Week in
And I
Auto
can't
History,
find it.
and I'll sit here and make faces.
In 1909, the first day of the automobile racing at the Indianapolis Speedway, a number of mechanics and spectators were killed in accidents attributed to the surface. So in Rickenbacker, who owned the the Indianapolis Speedway, ended up bricking the whole thing after so many injuries were happening.
Well, what was the original surface?
Kind of like a dirt chaff thing, and they were flinging up rocks and
It was
stuff.
dirt track?
It wasn't dirt, but it had
Kinda like caliche or
kind
something?
of a caliche gravel thing put over the top of it.
Okay.
And so that's where the phrase "the brickyard" came from, and to this day, there's still a strip of
Yes.
the original bricks in the brickyard, which is the thing they kind of bend over and kiss. But it wasn't until
That ain't
19.
the only thing they kiss.
But it wasn't. It was 50 years as brick until they finally put asphalt over the top of it. Actually, A.J. Foyt won on it when it was still made in brick, and then he won again as it was made to asphalt. Ford Thunderbird, the 54, 55 model years, were rolling off the production line until 1957. The two-seat Thunderbird, the final two-seat Thunderbird, was made this week in 1957. And remember, the Thunderbird originally came out to compete with the Corvette as a two-seater, and then in 58 it became a four-seater and much more of the personal luxury car. But the final two-seat convertible Thunderbird was built in 1957. In 1969 this week, the first 70 Chevelle LS6 was built. The 450 horsepower 454 Chevelle went into production this week in 1969. Also in 1969, the workers at the built the final Plymouth Superbird. Remember, Superbird was not a 69 model vehicle, it was a 70 model vehicle, but it was built in 69, and the final one was built in 1969. That's the Winged Warriors
I did not know that.
of the time. Mhm.
I did not know that.
And then you remember Dodge Daytona was 1969. Richard Petty went to Ford for 1969 because Plymouth didn't build the Superbird, and then as the season ended, Plymouth built this range of Superbirds, and Richard
To
Petty
help
came
lure
back to
him
Plymouth.
back.
Right.
Yeah.
And all Superbirds came from the factory with a vinyl top, because they didn't want to spend the time of cleaning up the C-pillar roof matching point. I always thought that was odd, but every Superbird came from the factory with a vinyl top.
I didn't know that.
In 1970, Lee Iacocca was elected president of Ford Motor Company in December this week. In 1987 this week, the last Buick Grand National rolled off the assembly line. Cool car, though. You got to think that the Buick Grand National was a beast of a car.
Kind of
It was,
sleeper.
but you know,
Faster than a Corvette.
but as a car guy, I guess, and my dad owned Buicks for so long, I really never gave it a second thought. I thought, it's a Buick.
As a performance car.
Right. Yeah, I never thought of it. Because my, obviously, idol was the 69 Camaro Z28.
Well, that's where all the focus was. The 69 Mustang was real popular.
Yep.
The Corvette was in there. And like you say, well, that's Buick. That's mom and dad's car.
And the Pontiac GTO, but Buick and Oldsmobile were kind of over here.
Yeah, and they weren't building a whole lot of them. You didn't see a lot of them. And, I mean, the ones that you did were impressive, but you just didn't see them. I don't remember seeing any of them back in my day.
And then finally, this week in the year 2000, General Motors announced the end of Oldsmobile. I can tell you where I was when I got the phone call.
And I still to this day don't understand how Buick made it. Of all of their other brands, at least I thought that Oldsmobile and Pontiac would make it.
Right. Well, and Pontiac made it longer than Oldsmobile did. Buick had a foothold in China. And I to this day, I believe that was the reason for it. So
I agree.
Buick had a foothold in China, and to this day, still they're building.
So why didn't they just build the dang things and send them over to China, or build them over there and let us have our Oldsmobile and Pontiac?
Don't get me going. So
bean counters.
Yep. So that was this week in automotive history.
Thank you. So a couple of stories I wanted to get in before we ended the show. The kinds of instant upgrades consumers are used to getting on their cell phones are now on their way to their cars and trucks as automakers salivate over the prospect of wirelessly squeezing more profit from
Out of
vehicles,
customers.
from vehicles long after they have left the dealership. How are they going to do that? General Motors projects up to $25 billion in annual revenue by 2030 from software and subscription services. You only thought that you had discontinued your subscription to the newspaper. Stellantis last week began a push to bring in $23 billion from such offerings by 2030, more than 50 times what it gets from the meager options available today. But whether automakers can persuade customers to keep their wallets open long after they're taking ownership of a vehicle isn't clear. Soaring transaction prices mean many buyers are stretching the limits of their budgets to afford their monthly payments, even as loans increasingly spread out the cost over 7 years or more, as we all have heard. City officials in Milwaukee say they're considering a lawsuit against Hyundai and Kia over a soaring number of, are you ready, thefts that mostly involve vehicles sold by those brands. What? Brewtown is on pace to top 10,000 vehicle thefts this year, double last year's total, and triple that of 2019, with Hyundais and Kias accounting for 2/3 of them.
Must be easy.
TV station WISN reported.
It's just a handshake away.
Yeah, that means the Korean models have been vanishing at a rate of nearly 20 a day. Police think Hyundais and Kias are being disproportionately targeted because they don't have engine immobilizers, which make vehicles harder to start without a key. Officials contacted the automakers this year, and the companies agreed to give free steering wheel locks to any owners who live, work, or attend school in the city of Milwaukee. Hyundai and Kia also told the city they were making engine immobilizers standard on all vehicles starting with the 2022 model year. But city leaders are still pretty cheesed off, saying last week that they may sue Hyundai and Kia under public nuisance laws.
Oh, gosh. We heard Ford's bringing the Shelby GT500 KR back. 900 horsepower. Ford's building it, and then they're going to ship them to Shelby to get the upgrades done on them.
And finally, Toyota committed $70 billion to electrify its lineup by 2030. Half of it to develop a battery electric vehicle lineup as it looks to tap a growing market for zero-emission cars and light trucks. But the world's biggest automaker, which is a relative latecomer to full electric vehicles, said its expected annual sales of EVs to reach only 3.5 million vehicles by the end of the decade, or around 1/3 of its current vehicle sales. We'll be back with more after this. Because of inclement weather, the Tailpipes and Tacos December Cruise-In was canceled. Darn it. But when it returns in the spring, expect a new and exciting way to enjoy the gathering. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's unique Saturday morning cruise-in, and with a new quarterly format, you'll have more time for car mods and to get ready for cruise-in trophies. Yup, you can compete for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, and more. And the top car will be featured on a full-size poster that'll be used to promote the next event. Bragging rights are guaranteed here. Tailpipes and Tacos wants to thank all participants and visitors who made the event an exclusive, fun gathering of unique cars, trucks, hot rods, and lots of muscle. And we know you'll enjoy it even more in 2022. Tailpipes and Tacos will still be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, just south of I-10 at Kingsland Boulevard on 99, the Grand Parkway. Stay tuned right here to the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show, and we'll tell you the exact date for the next event. Until next time, be sure to visit the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, where you'll find the best fajitas this side of California. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. Well, that's a wrap for another episode of the In Wheel Time Car Show. Hey, when you're on our Facebook page, please give us a like, tell your friends about us, and share our junk if you would, please. You'll get Conrad's Unicorn Hunting features, along with all things automotive all week long. There'll be some fun stuff in there, too, for you, along with upcoming events. The In Wheel Time Car Show streams live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and on InWheelTime.com every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central. 30-minute podcasts are available from your favorite podcast outlet 7 days a week. The In Wheel Time Chief Engineer is David Ainsley. Our marketing manager and video technical director is We Need More Jeff Zekin. For booking agent and podcast programmer Mike Out of This World Mars and his royalty King Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong. Today's show is produced by Steve and Edie Gourmet. And I want to thank especially Kathy Zekin for all of our beautiful Christmas decorations. Thank you. We love you very, very much. For the next couple of weeks, you'll be hearing a collection of best of segments that we think that you'll enjoy right here on the In Wheel Time Car Show. Have a great Christmas and New Year. Stay safe. Please don't drink and drive. And we look forward to joining us live on our next live show, January 8th, 8 to 11 Central. And we'll see you then. See you later.